back to Humanities Game of the Year show. We're done with the categories. That was yesterday. It was eventful. There were different events. Who are you?
Hi, I'm me. I'm the orange one. Hi, I'm Paddy. How's it going? I'm
CJ. Thanks.
Yeah. Who are you?
We've already done that.
You didn't give me a chance to ask.
Fatherhood has done you up the bum.
I'm so tired.
So we're going to do our top 5 games of the year. Plus, we're going to start off with a couple of games that affected our gaming landscape this year, but weren't in the top 5. It doesn't necessarily mean they are 6 and 7. It might necessarily mean that they were just games that we played and have an opinion on, or enjoyed, or had issues with, or things that populated our year.
Stuff of note.
Yes. Do you want to go first?
I can. I mean, I've got loads I could put on this list.
Pick 2.
Oh, damn it, you've done me again. Every time I think I've got a bit of leeway, you're like, no, 5. And I have to...
Why you gotta do me like this, babe?
And I have to take precious games and throw them into the fire.
Well, you can give an all-round summary then of other things that you like.
Okay.
That you want for your section.
Okay. Well, I only have
a little pizzazz and a little invention.
I have quick things to say. I'm going to bang through them quickly because I had a few things that didn't make the cut. I could have easily done a top 10 this year, quite easily, I reckon.
Look at you.
I could have. And a top 7 was hard.
Gamer.
A top 5 was really hard. So there's a few things that didn't make the list. First of all, let's go with Hollow Knight. Didn't quite make my top 5.
Wow.
And it was in the top 5.
I'm surprised.
And I took it out.
I
can't...
That does mean I don't like Hollow Knight. What I've played of it has been very nice.
Oh, it's banging. It's really good. The platforming's great. The world's really inventive and clever. The map's great. I finished it. And it's beautiful. And it's ethereal. And it's got this really good atmosphere to it. I didn't 100% finish it. I kind of felt like butt rushed through the end. I just kind of put on my biggest stuff and kind of damage raced through the last boss a little bit because I couldn't do it very well. I think I finished it at something like 83%, so there's quite a lot of stuff I didn't touch.
I think there's quite a lot of stuff, if I remember from Brad Galloway's playthrough, that after that kind of just gives you lots of challenges. And I think Brad was butting his head up against sort of quite a bit.
I didn't touch any of the DLCs. I got stuck on a couple of the challenges that are in the game. There's an arena, and I couldn't do the last one of the arena. I just don't have the skill for it. I could not do it, and I was banging my head against it and just said, you know what, sod this. I think the reason that I left it off the top... okay, so the world's really interesting, and there's lots going on. There's little things going on here as well. But unfortunately, I think it's subscribed to the Dark Souls 3 method of storytelling, which is like, I have no flat idea what is happening. I know that you're a cool bug man, and you're fighting lots of bug guys, and there was a cool guy before, and he was sealed, and there's this corruption. But I go on the wiki, right? So I've gone on the wiki because I was looking up a boss strategy. I was like, oh, let's just see what the guy's story is. And it's like paragraphs and paragraphs. Like, where are you lot getting this from? I don't know any of this stuff is in the game. Like, it's like, do I have to sit there and piece together stories like this granular? Because I'm not doing it. You can't make me. Yeah, I like it. I just wish I had a better idea what I was doing. But no, it's really, really fucking good. And I think I finished it at like 60 hours or something.
That's a fair old tickle.
It's a massive game. I did not expect it to be that long. And okay, when it's good, oh, it's good. There are some moments in that game. So yeah, didn't quite make the list. Shall I tickle on? I'll keep tickling on.
Okay.
Something you mentioned on the previous show in your game, the co-op game, Outward.
Yeah.
Didn't quite make it for me.
Okay.
It almost made my didn't play enough of it list. I played it with you, and I played it with Laura, and I played some solo, but I never quite felt like I really got my hands around it. Like,
yeah, I can see that, because I think there's a certain part where I was really getting it under my fingernails, and like stuff had happened story-wise, and I'd gone into more areas, and it was terrifying. And I think you were doing other stuff at that point.
Yeah, I kind of wanted to do more of it. I just didn't get more, because I think I'd had like 3 discrete playthroughs, like on my own and with Laura and with you, and they'd all kind of followed the same path, but I'd done the same thing 3 times, and maybe I just got tired of doing the same thing over and over and over again. There's only so many times you can brew tea. There isn't. You can do it forever.
But I think they build up familiarity with the underpinnings of the game, and then when you move into the other areas, that's where you suddenly go, I don't know anything.
Yeah, and I only went to that one new area with you. Was the only time I left the first zone.
Second area is terrifying.
Yeah,
it's absolutely terrifying.
And we had that lovely run in with that large alien rhino that flattened us.
Well, no, I mean like the second area, like beyond the opening.
Oh yeah.
Is genuinely terrifying. I was just like,
don't like it. But Outward, really good. Just didn't quite make it. A late pickup from the year. Past the point where other people had started making their lists already. I got some money for my birthday and I picked up Spider-Man.
Yeah, okay.
It's alright, man. It's okay. I think I was in the right headspace for it. I think I needed something. Again, the same way with Uncharted. I wanted something just like a laugh. And it's a laugh. The swinging's really good. The combat's okay. The momentum's really good. The Peter Parker stuff's really interesting as well. I haven't really got super far in it, which is why it didn't make the list, because it's close, but I'm starting to find that some of the side stuff does feel a bit like filler. There's a lot of like, hey, you've done this one side quest. Here's 20 more icons on the map of the same thing to do. Like, I don't want to do that. Like, I just want to swing around and punch a guy. Some of the enemies
feel
are
quite archaic in that regard.
A little bit,
and
yeah.
For everybody jumping up and down about it, I think most people really enjoyed the story and that carried them through. But the stuff that I played of it, it was just like, yeah, the city's great and the swinging's great, but it's Assassin's Creed. It's the original Assassin's Creed. And I just didn't enjoy the combat.
Yeah, so I've been okay with it. I've been having fun, seeing how long I can juggle a man. But that's just something I do in these kind of games. It's like, how long can I keep him in the air and bounce him and web him? And I'm having fun with the web gadgets and stuff. There are some bullshit enemies. The big guys are just miserable as you go on later. I've been knocked out in 3 hits by one of those guys. Like, why? I was fine. And then this guy punched me several times and my dodge didn't work. Why? So Spider-Man, but I'm still having fun. I just think that I'm going to be sacking off a lot of the side stuff and just getting on with it. Because the levels are brilliant. Like, loads of cool stuff going on. They're quite exciting. Lots of, cinematic moments in it. It's pretty good. Something else that was in the top 7 when I had a top 7 that has been trimmed off the bottom. VR game, Astrobot Rescue Mission.
Oh, yeah, I remember you.
Oh, it's really good. The reason I've cut it is because I haven't quite finished it. I would say I'm about 3/4 of the way through it. Only because getting the VR out is a bit of a pain at the minute these days. And it has been the last 6 months, I would argue. I haven't really had a chance to get it out as much as I would because we've been quite busy with other stuff. You've got to get all the wires out and get a zone and make sure no one's around. And the platforming is amazing. The VR is really, really good. It is the most charming thing I've played in ever. It is up there in my top tier platforming ranking with Lego Star Wars and Ratchet and Clank. It is up there. And that is no short criticism from me. That is hefty praise. I think it'd be fine without the VR. I think you could just have a camera control and just do the same thing with it, and I think it would still play just as well. It's a great game, really, really good. Give that studio, Asobi Base, I think they're called, give them all the money and let them make more like this because it is charming. Another VR one, Static, didn't quite make the cut, but worth pointing out. A VR game, puzzle game. It's the one where you've got your hands in a box. And your hands are on the controller, and you have to move your controller around to look around the box, and the buttons on your controller do different things on different boxes. So, like, one of them have like a tape player on it, and you've got to manipulate the tape around the box and get it in and listen to what it says, and then use that to make another device in the box do something. Really clever. Doesn't have to say it's welcome. It's like a breezy 4-hour game. I could have done twice that much.
Cool.
If it had been scaled up, if that game had been a 15, 20-hour game worth of puzzles, it could have very well have been on the list, because I had a real good time with it. And the last one I want to mention before I close off my notables this year, Crash Team Racing. Me and Laura smashed this one. Mostly Laura, actually. Remake's really good. It plays smooth. It plays just like kind of we remember it playing from the PS1.
Yeah.
There is bags of content. There's tracks from the other games like Nitro Kart and Tag Team Racing have been chucked in there as well. Loads of characters, loads of cosmetics, loads of other carts and things. You can unlock all of it by playing as well. You don't buy any of it with money. You just play the game and spend your credits on cool stuff. All the tracks are available immediately. They've chucked in tons of stuff for free with the season passes. Well, it's not even a season pass. It's just a season. The first map had an Egyptian map on it with some new characters and some new courses, and you get a set of challenges to beat while it's on. And if you do the challenges well, you can unlock certain carts and new things. It's, characters and things as well. There's been a Spyro the Dragon one. They've put a Spyro track in. And they've just put up a rusty post-apocalyptic looking thing as well, which looks fun. They're just chucking all at it. They really have not messed about with Crash Team Racing, and it plays like a dream. Me and Laura played it for ages. It's just a really good racer. It's just really, really good.
Mighty cool.
Yeah. What were your also rans?
Okay, these wouldn't have been in my top 5, but they are noticeable for the year. I think. Anthem. Now, I clicked with Anthem. It was imperfect, but I saw potential. The internet sort of split in half between absolute hate and those who blindly believed in the game. It stabilised, the loot was fucked, it got better by accident, and they decided to stop that and cut it off. The roadmap was completely thrown out at a certain point, and both sides of that debate just faded into apathy. Allegedly, a reboot or reimagining is underway, but who knows anymore? On the one hand, having that much faith in something that didn't pay off makes me feel a bit daft, honestly. I'm more than a little sad. For all its faults, I love the gunplay, the flying. I had some ace shooter co-op with Peter Cleaves.
We had fun in the beta, but I didn't have fun on my own.
Okay.
It was weird. I tried it again later on my own. I just did not have the same time. I think it was definitely a co-op game.
I still sort of enjoyed just flying around the world and doing missions and stuff. And the story, I enjoyed the story a lot.
Okay.
But I invested a good chunk of time into it and did really have fun, honestly. Not sure there would be much of a player base if I put it back on, and it's down to like £5 now. But I enjoyed my time with it. I paid £23, I think. So I got my money's worth, I think. I enjoyed the story. I just wish the way ahead had been as promised, and if you've seen the internet articles and read all the behind-the-scenes stuff at BioWare, it looks like a complete mess of a studio in that regard. But I don't know. Sometimes you just got to stand back and take stock and go, there are things I liked about that, but it leaves a little bit of a bitter taste in the mouth. It's EA, isn't it?
But I'm not one of those EA people that like, although they're the worst in the world, they're the worst company. It's in the game. But every now and again they'll do one like this. It's like, you did though, didn't you?
But I enjoyed it. And the thing is, I still think about like how much I loved firing rockets out the top of the suit and like doing gun stuff, and it felt weighty and chunky, and I had good times in the strongholds. They were good missions, and I don't know. It just seemed like BioWare and EA were completely unprepared for the release date and for the things that these sort of games have to deliver on. And you know that Destiny's in a place now where it's doing a huge chunk of that. And that's what you're up against. That's what everybody's up against is Destiny, and to a lesser extent kind of Warframe, I guess. But plus you've got games like Dauntless and stuff that are coming through out of the gate that are fantastic and are worthy of your time. So, but all in all, I am quite reticent to I don't want to jump on the hate train with it, because I did enjoy it. I was just, but my faith was like, yeah, they're going to sort this out. Maybe this is going to be kind of shooty No Man's Sky, or do you know what I mean? You can see somewhere down the line where you go, sort that out, sort that out, sort that out, do that. Maybe.
It's more like Iron Man Sky.
I see what you did there.
Thanks.
And with that, I'm going to move on. Another one that wouldn't have made my top 5, but I had a great time with. Against the opinion of the internet.
It's CJ, unpopular game liker.
Crackdown 3.
Really?
Crackdown 3 was just Crackdown. No idea where the delays came from, as this hadn't evolved Crackdown at all. In a few ways, maybe even backward steps. But I really, really enjoyed sprunking about all over the city and collecting orbs, taking over points, fighting baddies and bosses and stuff. And at the same time as everyone was going, oh my god, Spyro, Crash! This is still Crackdown. It's not anything groundbreaking, but if anything, it's as super retro as the Purple Dinosaur and the Ginger Bandicoot, but got battered for it, whereas the nostalgia flowed in the PlayStation camp.
I will give you... I will counter you there that those games are remakes. They're remasters. Like, they played like the old ones, whereas this is supposed to be something new, and the power of the cloud, and it was built this big whole city destruction thing, and it just sounds like it came out as a sequel. Do you think it was missed expectations is why people were down it? Because it was due to be like, wow, you can blow up everything. It was like
that's
the impression I got.
Multiplayer. But they said that it wasn't feasible in the main game because if you can flatten the city, what else have you got? When you're running around, which is fair enough. But it, I don't understand why it was delayed so many times but it looks quite nice. It's really fast. It plays well. It's still Crackdown, and I enjoyed Crackdown. And it was another one of those where I enjoyed coming home and just losing myself in it. Brain off, fun on, big smile. And it was dumb, and it was gaudy, and I had a good time with it. Like I say, it's just Crackdown.
Sometimes you want that.
There's still huge amounts of potential in Crackdown to be more, and I think that everybody thought that was going to be there. But, if you're sitting there and you're having fun, you're having fun. Plus, it was on Game Pass, so...
Ding!
As everything is. And I will do a little late tip of the hat as well to something, which may even be on next year's, who knows. But Subnautica is the fucking balls. What a game. What a game. I fired it up one night just thinking, I don't really want to go to bed yet. What haven't I played? I'll stick this on. Because there's a lad I work with who's a really big fan of Subnautica, and I was like, yeah, at least I can join in conversations at work and have sort of an idea of what he's on about. Put it on. Remembered Brad Galloway saying that he had more fun when he turned off eating and thirst. So you still got the oxygen stuff, but it's, you're not sort of held back by the other gubbins. So I was like, okay, I trust you, Brad. I trust in the Wilberforce.
We all trust the Wilberforce.
Yeah. So I put it on. No idea what's cracking off. No idea. And it's one of those where it doesn't sort of go into a super tutorial. It's just like, figure that shit out or turn it off. So, I'm there kind of trying to see what's cracking off, and figured a few bits out. And because you're part of a spaceship that's crashed on an unknown planet, and you're in sort of this sort of life buoy type thing that's floating above the water, and all the systems are fucked. And so I was like, okay, right, let's have a look. What do I need to do to build a repair tool? And you know what I mean? You look into all those sort of things, and then you're like, right, I'll dive underwater. I've only got a certain amount of breath. Okay, right, I can see this. Oh fuck, that looks friendly. No, it isn't. And then you're sort of swimming back up and just like, and I was holding my breath like I used to do in the original Tomb Raider on PS1, which I think added to it. But I got into it, and there were certain things that I was struggling to find, and I was thinking, are these just going to be lower and lower depths, so I was like diving even further down and only being able to do a certain amount of things. And then at a certain point, I completely by accident found the thing that I needed that really wasn't that far away. So I was like, okay. And the story moves on, and it does a thing. And this thing is really good. And I don't want to spoil it in case you ever get to it, but the storytelling and the voice acting in particular is great. I know somebody's actually rewriting the story at the minute, so there is kind of an extra tickle on the way apparently. But there's a story beat that just made me go, oh, okay, fine, because you get really immersed in the stuff that you've got to do, and every now and again it will nudge you with a little bit of story stuff, and not like go here, do this now. It will just kind of add to the world around you. It will build a bit more world around you. And I did like that the people that were phoning in from distant spaceships and stuff just sounded like it was their job. It wasn't kind of you full on Troy Baker like, hey, you take care down there. We're all thinking about you. Do you know what I mean? It was just like it sounded like the bloke's job, and he was talking to somebody in the background that you could barely hear. And then he just had this moment of like honesty where he was talking to you and stuff, and it was like, that's kind of cool. It sounds like a bloke. It doesn't sound like a voice actor. And a bit further on, it ends up doing a thing, and you realise the thing that it's done about five minutes before you actually see payoff of it, and you just go, what the fuck? No. And the stuff that I've played has been really good. Really good. It's a bit of a belter. So,
I've actually noticed it right. It looks like it could be my shit. It could be Laura's shit, actually. She likes picking up.
Right, this is the thing. I think that it leads you into the game better than No Man's Sky does.
Okay.
And it isn't kind of... It isn't throwing as much at you. I think because you were in such a closed environment to start off with, you just look around and you like try and figure shit out. But you're not moving anywhere really because you're in this life buoy, and then you've got the ocean below you. So there is that aspect of finding stuff and building stuff and finding other pods, and the swimming underwater stuff is just great. It's kind of nice where you sort of. You're sort of swimming around, you're looking for stuff, and then you hear... There was a point where I heard this, like... And I was like, what even is that? And I looked up, and there's this like giant whale type thing with all these crustaceans over its back, that a few of them I could mine, and then I think I died to a plant on its back, and I was like, what? Why?
Okay.
It feels like an alien world, and it's good. It's just... wonky and great and immersive, and also there was that night I was only going to put it on for about half an hour, and I'm like, why? I never stay up this late. Where have 3.5 hours gone? It's one of those, but it's nice,
and that's
like
nice.
It.
Cool.
Yeah. So yeah, that's that may be on next year's list, but yeah, them's me 3.
Excellent.
What is so going into the 5?
The top 5, the big 5.
What is your number 5?
Okay, cool. I'll go first.
Yeah, you will.
My number 5 is the game that swapped positions with Hollow Knight about 6 times over the last week.
Oh, that game.
Because Hollow Knight was in this position, and I kept swapping it out, and I swapped it back, and I had to keep going until it felt right. And based on our kind of informal criteria of what was your favourite, not necessarily what was the best...
Yeah. Because let's reiterate the fact these aren't necessarily games that released last year. It's the stuff that we played.
Yeah, we're not Iggin.
We're not Iggin.
We're not Iggin. We don't do Iggin. We're not Iggin. We're just going to do what we liked. And I think of the 2 games, I think this was my favourite. And they're very similar, and we'll get there in a minute. My number 5 this year is Death's Gambit.
Oh, okay. Didn't you... I remember us having a chat on this, but that wasn't in last year's.
No.
No, of course it wasn't.
No?
Yeah,
No,
please continue.
This year, it's on my list of things I played this year that I kept over the year, so it must have been. Because,
Let's hope so.
good lord.
Because that would be a mighty amount of egg on your face if it was in last year's as well.
Okay, here's this. I don't remember writing a song about Death's Gambit, so it can't have been in last year's. Sorted.
This is why we're stuffed next year.
Yeah. So yeah, Death's Gambit is this and Hollow Knight kind of filled the same slot for me. You know, a Souls-y 2D platformy type game with that sort of mentality in behind it.
Yep.
And of the two, I think I preferred this one. I think because I had a more personal journey with it. Again, the thing with big games like your larger games like your Hollow Knight and to an extent like AAA games, you know, a lot of people have the same experience with it, even though like, oh, you can go do all these things, but you're still doing the same stuff and you're all still enjoying the same thing. Whereas when you have these games that are a bit smaller and have these little moments that not everyone's had, they kind of feel a bit more special. They kind of feel a bit more like they're yours. Like we were talking about yesterday with the One Bro 2 stuff. You know, that game feels like it's mine again. Whereas it hadn't felt like it was mine for a while. It's mine again. Death Gambit, compared to Hollow Knight, feels a lot more like it's mine. And they're making apparently a free DLC for it that's coming out soon.
Okay.
Which is mental. They're really going all in, apparently. So, Death's Gambit is a Soulsy 2D game with an actual focus on the goddamn story, which I think is what edged out Hollow Knight for me this year. It's got a story that you can follow with voice acting. And
So does this make it Follow Knight?
oh,
I'm sorry.
that's all right. That's okay. You actually
Move
have
on.
you play a protagonist, right? Who's got a name and a backstory. Who's a person. You're not just nameless one. You're a guy. His name is Soren, who is saved by Death, personification of Death. You know, the skull and the cape and the scythe at the start. And you're offered a contract to kill immortals that are screwing with the whole balance of everything. And he grants you immortality yourself by giving you a contract that says, you know, I will bring you back to life when you die. And you can, in your menu, rip this up at any time. And put yourself in, like, insta, you know, hardcore one death mode whenever you feel like it. Which is cool as shit.
Yeah, I like that.
And it does tell you, are you sure? Like, yeah. Of course, I will never do that because it turns out I'm not very good at this game.
You finished it though.
I finished it. Took a while.
Yeah, there we go. Shut up.
Well, no, because then I watched Jeremy Greer play it on a stream, and he got to the same point I did in a quarter of the time. Like, well, shit, man. Like, he just walked through some things that took me hours to get through.
That's because he's powered by hunks.
Powered by hunks and powered by hate.
Yes. In fact, hunks may have been playing the game for him, and he might just have been concentrating on the chat.
Hi, I'm Jeremy Greer. This is my live chat of Death's Gambit.
Well, do the accent.
I'm Jeremy Greer. This is my live chat of Death's Gambit.
He's not from Norwich.
Alright, it's me, Jeremy Greer.
Moving on.
Back on topic.
You had an opportunity then.
I did. I'm tired. The combat in the game is really good. Like, it's quick and it's punchy and it relies a lot on movement and jumping and parrying and dodging and kicking shields down as well, which is always nice to have back. It gives you like a little power meter which you can build up by attacking, which then lets you drop your cool abilities on people. I picked an assassin, I think it was called, the class I picked, which is like the quick dexy dodging one. I had my daggers had a cool like a quick flurry attack that does like 3 quick stabs, but then the next attack you do with the daggers has triple damage, which is kind of fun. There's a one that lets you throw a knife and teleport to where it went, which is fun to use in combat. And there's also a freeze move where you can kind of charge them up and kind of jab your daggers into a guy and it freezes them, so you can just wail on them for a few seconds, pretty much free bonus, which is great. You do have to build that power up though to use it, so you can't just run in, freeze the enemy and get on with your day. You've got to attack a little bit first to build up power, which is nice. It balances out like the more bullshit moves. That means you've got to earn them essentially, and the power kind of drips away as you play, so you've got to keep your heat up to be able to drop the big thunder essentially. The 2 slots for your weapons, so you've got you start with your main daggers is what I picked, and it'll give you like crossbows, and you can actually put other melee weapons in your slots as well, and you can attack them on R2, so rather than having to switch out weapons all the time, I can be sitting there going bang, 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 bang with my daggers, and then just press a different button, and then the giant great spear knocks out for the finishing blow. It's very cool. It works, and it's sort of fluid, and it works. Like, you know what you're doing with it. Like, it feels weighty. You're not sort of bouncing off each other. I think that's something that Salt and Sanctuary had wrong. The combat didn't feel very weighty.
I got you.
This feels a lot better, a lot more arcadey, a lot more chunky. The animations aren't amazing, but it flows nicely. It feels good. The world is really cool. It's like an alien medieval type world. With, like sort of, fantasy monster like guys in it as well. And you've got, sort of goat men that are kind of your friends. And there is like a Firelink shrine type place where all the people hang out and be sad together. Because that's fine. That's okay. It had its own ideas in it. Loads of really interesting levels, loads of cool shortcuts, loads of little cool surprises. Lots of times you'll just start walking down a direction and going like, what the fuck? Why is this happening in here? Why is it all dark? What's happened? Am I supposed to be here? Turns out you're not. You're not supposed to be there yet. There is one level in the game where I walked into it, I had to put the controller down for a minute and go, what? That's not right. Is this... Really?
Yeah,
really?
I like that sort of thing when it happens in the game, though. I do like it.
It's good. Oh, it's really good. And it's very left field. Like, you don't see it coming. I don't want to play it because it's really good. The boss fights. Oh, my God, these boss fights are good. From what I heard...
Are they fair or are they tough?
Yes and yes, for the most part.
Good times. Thanks for joining us.
There's a couple of shit ones. But most of them are brilliant. I think from the way I heard it, Death Gambit was originally designed around its boss fights. They were going to have a mechanic where you could throw swords in and climb up dudes, which didn't make it in. I think the idea is that the bosses were a lot bigger. There are still some absolute top draw boss fights, though. One of the early ones you do is a guy called Tundra Lord Karen, who is this goat man, and his arena is a seesaw. And cool. It's like an icy precipice balancing, and he runs down to the left, and if you don't run to the right to balance it out, it will flip over and you will die. At one point, he'll jump off of the stage to the background, and he'll start throwing ice blocks at the level, and you've got to run around and break them before they disbalance the stage. It's really, really fun. And I was like, what? The floor's moving? What? That's not a thing. And then I fell off, and I was like, am I dead? I'm dead. Laura, that's not fair. But then it turns out it is kind of fair. You're given loads of, it's very obvious what will happen if it tips over, but I didn't want to believe it. There is a boss fight against a lady called Auriga, who's a, techno sniper in this alien fantasy game out of nowhere, like a robot sniper. You're like, what? That fight is very, very good. There is a guy called Thalamus. At one point, you get chucked into a kind of almost sort of, not Lovecraftian, but that kind of madness underworld, where everything's all upside down and it's all underwater and everyone's some sort of horrible fish monster. And you stand on his hand and you cannot hurt him. He's a god. He's an actual god. He'll throw shit at you and you just have to survive, essentially. You have to keep running around, and there's one part where there'll be a lot of icons on the floor and you have to run around and pick up the one that's positive. If you pick up a negative one, you'll take damage. Pick up a positive one and it'll break it away, so you've got to oh no, misery, oh no, sadness, oh hope, grab that one. And you're under a time limit, so you've got to go quick. This particular boss fight will also has a move where he divides the screen into 6 chunks and then rearranges them. But they all still connect the way they're supposed to, because you can run off of the second one and appear on the fourth one, and certain ones glow red, and you've got to get out of those spaces to a safe bit. Oh, it's good. And also, the last boss I want to talk about is a boss called Amalvaro the Galaxy Mage.
It's a nice name. It must have been in the running before you chose Violet.
It was close. Well, to reach him, you have to climb up this observatory, and you meet this guy, and then he teleports you into space, and you have a fight in space. It's amazing. Mm-hmm. It's such a good fight. It's hard, but it's fair. And once you start to read the moves, you can start to plan and go, right, he's going to do that next, so I can move over there, I can jump down a few levels, he's going to do his big wall thing, so I can move over there and run in behind, get a couple of hits off. Oh, I punched the sky and I beat that boss. I punched the sky. It's so good. I wanted to do it again. So clever. Such a cool idea. The game itself is bonkers. It's got ideas out the wazoo. There's lots of cool things going on, things you don't see in other games like this. And the fact that it's got an actual bloody plot where you're having flashbacks to yourself as a kid and you're chatting to death about what's happening, and there's characters that are talking, and it's not in like, ooh, it's sad, you should go to the sad place and meet your misery. No, they're just saying, hey, we want to get through that door. We've got to beat this to get through that door because we're going to do that. Like, it's simple. It doesn't involve me sitting there writing a bloody law document to work out why I'm supposed to be doing the things I'm doing. I've got a very clear goal. I like that. And it's funny. It's funny. The dialogue's actually funny at times. They get a couple of Dark Souls jabs in. But, like, light-hearted one. Death turns up really early on. It's like, yes, Soren, your task is to go and ring the 3 bells to awaken the lands of Nan. I'm just kidding. I'm sorry. Couldn't do it. Sorry. It's so good, man. It's so good. It's not... I would not say it's an easy game. I would say it's definitely on the harder spectrum. I would say in terms of how hard it is, I'd say probably with Salt and Sanctuary in terms of the difficulty, like it's doable. There's probably some bullshit you can do to waltz through it, but with my playstyle anyway, I had a few bits where I got stuck for a while, but I had a very enjoyable, 25 hours with it, which is still breezy by, a Souls game. When in the grand scheme of things, we've spent 80 to 100 hours in some of these games, haven't we? This is a nice, easy, breezy 25. I beat the thing in about a week or two. I just sort of did a couple of hours a night with it, and it's great, man. It's really good. Death Gambit, man.
Marvellous.
Oh, put plots in games. End cryptic lore 2020.
I thought it was end all lore.
No, just rubbish lore. That. Just like, I don't mind lore. There's a difference, I think, between lore and plot. Plot is fine. And, backstory is fine, but lore implies mystery and homework.
And is it? But maybe.
Yeah, or so they say. No! Do they? Tell me! But no, Death Gambit is a refreshing breath of fresh air in this... I think it's taken the right lessons from Souls. It may be... In the same way that Hollow Knight has taken some of the right lessons as well. But it's taken different right lessons. Yeah, I like it a lot. I will play it again because it was great.
Cool.
I'm going to grab the top 5 ball and I'll throw it back to you.
It's a... doink. It's a goal. It's a bit of a quick one for me because my number 5 is Outward. So, so we've talked about it twice now.
Third appearance.
As a reminder, came out of nowhere, an ad on YouTube that was 20 minutes long.
I'm sorry, what?
An ad on YouTube that was 20 minutes long.
That was a video.
With an Elder Scrolls YouTuber waxing lyrical on every little detail and why it was so special. And it started and I just went, huh? And then looked at the time and I went, huh? And then just ended up watching it. And I was... yeah, this looks really good. And I think I told you about it at that point. And, as we mentioned on the previous show, we played some co-op, and you and your good lady did some co-op, and I played a whole chunk of it on my own, and it was terrifying, and it was brilliant, and it was imaginative, and it was work of 8 people. And just, it deserved better than it got, because most outlets couldn't be arsed to play it. Never mind review it. I don't know. I see things like Greedfall that were great games, but got tons and tons of press. Sometimes, I don't know. We harped on about this last year with Immortal Unchained, but those games that fall in between indie and AAA tend to get a bit of a rough ride. Because nobody's interested in them. They fall by the wayside. And this was... It deserved somebody championing it and just going Bethesda are a bunch of twats now. Especially with the Fallout 76 stuff, keeping on going and going and going. Nobody...
And then announcing £100 a year subscription plan for the broken game.
Nobody in the mainstream press just went, hold on a minute, how good is this? And that's what it took, and Outward deserved that, and it didn't get it. But, bless the lad on that Elder Scrolls YouTuber, because he was eloquent, he broke things down really, really well. I watched his and a number of other YouTubers' videos on, good weapons and all the armor sets, and the people that did hunker down on it, I think, did really well from it because nowhere else was doing it. But yeah, I loved Outwards to pieces.
Is it mad that this is the second game that's ranked really highly for us in a year that we've discovered via a YouTube ad of all things? Because that's how I found Immortal. It's just a random advert. Like, what is this?
I think that's how I found Fade to Silence as well, and I've still not played it. And I mentioned that in the last episode as well. But another one of those where I kind of went, what? And looking on YouTube, there's about 5 people that have actually put up videos, and there's one Scottish lad who's done a great video on it, like really super detailed. And he seems like our kind of lad in the fact that he's quite happy to have something that's a little bit fucked in places, but is super ambitious in others, and is done by a small team, and that small team might get better. And you can tell they've really put their heart and soul into it and stuff. I'd rather have that every day of the week than photorealistic and billions and billions and billions of dollars into stuff. So yeah, I'll rest my case there now. But Outward is great, and if you've not played it, it's knocking about £15 now, I think. So
good. Don't look up things. Just play it. Work things out. It's more fun. We mentioned this on the other show, but the epic drama of getting a bit ill and working out how to make tea to fix it. Good lord, that was an intense 10 minutes.
But I think so much of it is in the person that you play with, and you both discovering stuff. And those YouTubers that did cover it were generally kind of avoiding spoilers because everybody's game is pretty individual, and it's very much your own. But I loved it, genuinely loved it, and I'm gonna have to play it again or start it again or something.
One of the only games that has a sense of urgency that actually goes by, like, oh my god, we have to do this by the next 4 days, and you have 4 days.
As I understand it, there's one kingdom that you get to, and you can be fucked over by somebody within a choice that you make, which locks you out of everything else in that kingdom.
That hurts me on the inside.
But that. It's not just like, oh, you've got a bad decision or a bad decision. Ooh, how crazy is that? It's like, no, you've been kicked out of there. Somebody has actually fucked you over and lied.
And do you know what the worst part is? That's going to be the city that's got the best hats.
I think you've just nailed it in a way that speaks to you.
You'll look in and see them walking around with their fancy hats with feathers. You're like, I want that.
Give me your number 4, you ginger fool.
My number 4 is actually my number 0, Yakuza 0. That is.
Ah, okay. Yeah, I forgot you were playing this.
Yeah, boy.
I played a bit of it, and when they announced that all the Yakuzas are coming to Game Pass, because of course they are, that's where I was like, yeah, I think that's where I kind of hunker down.
Yeah. Holy balls, what a game. Holy balls, what a game this is. So before this, I've only played, actually featured on one of my lists a couple of years ago, I think.
You did, yeah.
Yakuza 1 on the PS2 is the only one that I've actually played. So my connection with the franchise isn't as strong as other people's that, have picked us up and fell straight into it. So I was gonna put this off initially until I played some more of the others. Like, I've been trying to find a copy of Yakuza 2 for less than £30 anywhere, and my god, like the original PS2 one, it turns out it's quite rare. I've got 3, 4 and 5 on the PS3 thanks to various PlayStation Plus deals and stuff, so I've got lots of them. I've got somehow 2 copies of the zombie game, Dead Souls. Don't know how, but I've got 2 of them. I thought, well, I want to play more of them, and then maybe come back once I've done Yakuza 5, then I'll come back and play 0, and then I'll go through the Kiwami games. But again, I think it turned up in a sale for like a tenner. And when you have that, like, it's like, go on then. Oh, go on then. I'm in the mood for this. Go on
moment, I think it hit under £20 for me, because I got it a while before. I was just like, I'll get to this.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? You see that price and you're like, I can't play it now, but I'll get to this.
Well, I saw that it's kind of half Kiryu and half Goro Majima, who is my boy. I was like, yeah, go on then. I fancy a bit of this. These 2 boys are good. I need this sort of game at the moment. Let's play this. It's fun. This is my kind of open world game. Like, this is what I want out of an open world now. It's got a pair of city districts, one for Kiryu, one for Majima. They don't actually meet until, like, ever, I don't think. So you're kind of playing two separate, but still intertwined stories. Like, you're sort of getting half a story here, half the story there, and, you know, there's different things happening. So you'll never really trip over each other. But you've got this pair of districts, both equally involved and full of life and full of shops to go and buy stuff in, shops that actually are in Japan apparently. Don Quixote apparently is one of the big ones, like you see them everywhere, and it plays the real jingle from Don Quixote when you go in, which is great. There's so many like stuff going on. There's people walking around with just mental stuff that they need you to help them with. Like, I mean, because when I'm in the street and I see a cabaret club owner, scary mafia guy with one eye, I go up to him and I ask him for help with the crossword puzzle.
You're only human.
What else could you do? Who else would be able to help you with this crossword puzzle than this clear Yakuza? Like, I'll approach him.
What's in the place of that other eye? The answers.
The secrets. The hidden letters. So some of the detail from the world is built up, obviously, from the gradual build-up of the series, you know. Even compared to the game I've played, Yakuza 1, compared to this. Like, there's so much more to do in the city than there was originally. And these things are built up, like the karaoke and all the various places you can eat and the dancing missions and all the other stuff that builds up. But they've really gone to good pains to fill the city things to do. Like, there's men to punch. There is arcade games you can go and play. Which are just joyfully over the top when you sit down and the camera pans to a real action shot of you sitting at this arcade cabinet. And you've got Kiryu who goes, "Out! Run!" as you load up Outrun. Really funny. There's a bowling alley where you can go play bowling. And I think I've told you about this as well, where they've got a competition where you can win a turkey if you bowl a turkey. And you win your 3 strikes and you go to the counter and she puts a live chicken on the counter. And you're like, what? What? That's not a turkey. That's a chicken, and it's alive. And she's like, yeah, we didn't get this right. I mean, we can kill it, and you can have it for dinner if you want. And Kiryu stares down this chicken for about 15 seconds, and then says, no, I'll keep him. I'll name him Nugget. And he runs my leisure business now. This all happens in the space of 5 minutes, and I'm sitting next to Laura, and we're going, what's happening here?
Seems legit.
This isn't right. Is this right? This doesn't feel right. You can go to a telephone club. So, you know, back in the day, back in the 80s, because it's a prequel, it's set in the late 80s, you couldn't just go on the internet to meet random people. You had to go and sit in a telephone club and wait for your phone to ring and pick it up. There is a mini-game about talking to anonymous women on the phone, including you're sitting there in a quiet room, staring at the phone, quietly, and then you'll see the icon come up to answer the phone, and you smash that circle button, and Kiryu just launches the handset off of the device, just like flings it to the side, like it's all cool and anime, and then he brings it back to his ear and goes, Moshi Mosh. Just so funny. It's really, really funny. There is, unfortunately, an erotic movie theatre you can go to.
What are you saying, unfortunately?
It restores your heat bar, so you kind of do... And there are missions where you need to go and talk to people in there, so you can't really avoid it. And when you finish watching the erotic video, the camera just pans to the left to a box of tissues, and you'll see a text box come on screen, like, okay, we're not even pretending that's what's happening here. Okay. You can do slot car racing, where you take a little car and you can buy new engines and wheels for it, and you race it around these little slot car circuits, and it's really intense and really important, and there's an entire mini game around it. There is a real estate management game where you go around buying up businesses and they'll earn you money and you have to fight other people for control of their zones. Goro Majima has a cabaret club that he runs. So this minigame, essentially, is you go around and find women to work at your bar. They will come in, and then people will come in like, I want to speak to a hostess. And you kind of put them to a table with someone who you think they'll get along with, and they'll chat away. And the girls will call you over every now and again to give them, like, I need a towel, or we need an ashtray. And you've got to read their hand signs and work out what they need. And you make money from that, and then people start coming, and then there's this great big, like, cabaret club battle royal going on where you're trying to prove that you're the best club owner in town. And all these, like, colourful bar owners come over for, like, a head-to-head battle. It's really dumb. But it's really funny. There's a dancing game. There's a karaoke game in there as well. There is so much you can do that's not the game, if that makes sense. Like, all the side stuff doesn't feel like filler. It feels like it's part of it, and you're supposed to go around and just piss about for a few hours at points. Like, and just go, I'm just going to go see what's down that road. Oh, I've not been in that shop yet. Let's go see what's in there. Oh, cool, karaoke. Yeah, go on then. And then the karaoke has music videos halfway through. Of Goro Majima, Big Scary Girl One Eye, rollerblade dancing.
It sounds like it's a game that's actually just... I'd say it was made for you, but I think that new Yakuza that's coming out in this year looks even more made for you.
But unfortunately, I have 6 games to get through before I can reach that one, so my brain won't let me play it until I've done those, which is a shame.
But it seems kind of cool that they're sort of rethinking...
I'm all over it.
Doing the RPG stuff, and there's kart racing in it and all that kind of stuff.
And if you're having a problem in a fight, you can ring up some shrimp to come help you.
And
what the
he's
fuck?
with Dragon Quest, isn't he?
Yeah, he's really dragged, so he phones up his thing and these shrimps and lobsters turn up to attack your friends. Like, why? I mean, okay, but why?
Yeah.
I'm fine with it.
I liked on the video where they really leaned into the fact that he went to prison for a crime that he didn't commit, and he came out and nobody was waiting for him. And
no one gave a shit, yeah.
And really leaning into that kind of dark Yakuza aspect, and then it's just... it shows you all the giggles.
And that's what the game does. That's a good point. Game does that really well. This one does it really well. Because there is a really good story going on about Kiryu. At the start, is framed for a murder that he didn't commit, and he's been discharged from the Dojima clan. So he's been forced to investigate by himself as a civilian, which is where he gets his cool white suit. Still a crazy tough dude, but like he's been forced to kind of stay off grid essentially, and do his own investigations of what's going on. You've got Majima, who's running a cabaret club, and in the games, that's not what he does in the other games. Basically, he botched an assassination with his brother. His brother's been killed. He's been tortured, which is where he lost his eye, and then he's been told, you're running this club now. You might think you're free, but you are in this birdcage. This little district is the only place you're allowed to be. There are men on every street. If they see you leave, they will shoot you. You're being kept there in your prison essentially until you've made the clan enough money to let you come back, and that's really good as well. Like I said, the stories kind of flip back and forward each other. Like you'll hear something in Kiryu's side, and then a couple of hours later, when you're back on Majima, you go, "Hang on, I know that name. Wait, what? No, does that mean that person's? Oh no, oh that's not good." Really well laid story. The drama is great. Like edge of the seat stuff. Like me and Laura are watching. I tried to watch a lot of it with Laura. Like, no, Laura, plot, quick, get plot. And we'd watch the plot, and it'd be really good. And then we go back to running around in the town centre and picking up a motorbike and smashing a guy's face in with it. You can knock a guy's teeth out with a baseball bat by putting the baseball bat on his face and then kicking the end of it, which is really fun. You can, with a particular dance style from Majima, which is, and I'm not making this up, breakdancing fighting.
Okay. You
see some guys breakdancing and think, I can do that, and learn a new technique. I will say, actually, before I get into this, Kiryu's one of that, is he'll see someone doing a particular fighting style, the camera pans right up to his face really quickly, and he goes, that's rad. It's really good. But Kiryu learns a dancing technique, and then at one point you kind of dance with your bebop friends, which is how you pick up your new moves. You learn a move where you can kind of get between two dudes, hit triangle, and you will kick one of them in the dick, and that will make him kick the other one in the dick. A dick kick chain. It's really good. You can do sick pro wrestling moves. You can just DDT a guy. You can pick a guy up and give him a cool suplex. Like, there's so much in there that's just, like, very, very clearly aimed at me. Like, very, very clearly aimed at me. Even, like, the dumb side quests. One of them's about an old lady who cuts in line at a takeaway shop, and it becomes one of the most interesting side quests. Out of nowhere. I think I've already told you about the small boy who you have to buy a magazine out of the naughty magazine rack.
Yeah, she told me about that one.
Who starts as innocent child, and then when you eventually decide to give him the magazine, his name changes to sophisticated child. Which is amazing. This game is made for me. It is a game that is absolutely laser targeted at my face. And again, I said this when I played Yakuza on PS2 a couple of years ago. I'm annoyed it's taken me this long to get to it. Because, these Yakuza games, 22-year-old me would have been all over these. If I'd have known.
I think it was one of those things where even when I started listening to podcasts, it was kind of Bitsocket and Midnight Resistance, particularly Bitsocket though, that were really banging the drum about this stuff, about how good the games were. And it's really interesting to see them as popular as they are and all coming out.
Yeah, and that remaster set they put out this year of 3, 4, and eventually 5 that's coming on the PS4, like you can play.
It's out, that is.
I don't think 5's quite out yet, but it's very close.
No, but what I mean is I think it's really classy for people to just be able to invest in it and them go, right, this one's out, say October, this one's out in May, this one's out the following like July or something.
So you've got time to get through them.
I just think it's really cool. It's not as if it's wishy-washy and you're not knowing where the other games are coming from. They're set in stone, and that's super cool. Plus, I will add to this that the one game that I kind of really keeps nagging at me that I forgot to talk about yesterday was Judgment. And I really want to play Judgment. It looks super up my street.
Yeah.
And I really like the actor that's playing the lead because he was in Blade of the Immortal. And yeah, so that's one of those which I think that speaks to me a lot more than Yakuza does at this point. But, yeah.
I can see that. Judgment is on the list as well once I've been through a couple more of these games because, it's good. Oh, they're good. But now, because they've just announced this remake pack, if you include the Kiwami games, you can now play Yakuza 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, and Judgment on one machine.
Yeah.
Go on, son.
Cool. Finally.
That's powerful.
And also, that pack, I think, has got some PS3-like disc holders, I think.
Yeah, if you buy the physical edition of it, it comes with a PS3 box for Yakuza 5 because it only came out here on digital. Never came out on disc.
That's pretty cool.
That's really cool. Yakuza 0 is my number 4 this year, and well earned. I looked at my stats for the end of year thing, and if you take away the games that Laura played, it is my most played thing last year, with 92 hours, I believe.
We got.
And they flew past.
Yeah.
So now I will pass back to you, the baton of leadership. Cool. CJ, what is your number 4 for 2019?
My number 4 is River Bond.
Ooh.
Game Pass arrival, came out of nowhere and stuck in my mind. It's not a particularly hard game. You probably beat it in your first run, which I did over about 3 to 5 sittings. But it left such an impression on me that I didn't forget it, and I still think about it. It was one of those where I just pure enjoyed playing it. It's sort of an isometric voxel type game that's super well written, really quirky. You can beat things up with lollipops and with guns and with pirate swords. You can play as numerous characters, like things like bloody biscuits and things. You can play as that lad from Guacamelee or the people from Love is in a Dangerous Space Time.
You mean Juan Aguacate?
Yes, your boy. So you can. There's loads of different sort of skins that you can pick up on multiple playthroughs. They've just added an extra level, I believe. I pure enjoyed it, and the fact that the run stayed in my mind for as long as it did, and I played it again the other day just to refamiliarize myself with it. And it's co-op as well, which is great. It's maybe a little fiddly for super young kids, but it looks gorgeous. It moves wonderfully. It's just a pleasure to play, and it kept me giggling. Like I say, the way that it's written is very knowing, and it's not winky in that regard. You just kind of read the text and you go, "That's pretty neat." So yeah, it was just a diamond when I look back on the year, and I like say not something that I expected. And one of the benefits of Game Pass is just going, yeah, all right then. So yeah, like I say, people with kids, I'd say it's great if you've got a little one that can watch it. They'll probably giggle along with you because you you get attacked by chickens and big pirate creatures and giant monsters, and it's daft, but it's fun. And I think it's another one of those for me that, as an indie title, I think it deserves more credit than it's actually gotten. There's loads of replayability. Like I say, I didn't find it particularly hard, but you can do sort of speed runs with it and sort of try and beat your time getting through the levels, and obviously increase your scores and stuff. And
is it like designed levels, or is it one of those kind of rando ones?
Yeah, it's designed levels.
Oh, okay, cool. I couldn't tell. I've been looking at pictures quietly while we've been talking.
It's pure.
Looks lovely. It reminds me visually of Crossy Road.
Okay, I understand that. I mean, I think one of the things that caught my eye, I think it was on. It might have been on one of the old Xbox E3 things, and also I've been quite looking forward to that Minecraft Dungeons as well. So and it probably even stretches back a bit further than that to, was it 3D Heroes?
3D Dot Game Heroes, published by From Software.
Yeah. So I just pure enjoyed it, mate. And it is one of those where, if you're a little bit knackered, if you're a little bit fried, if you just want to get back to gaming from yesteryear, it's just great to put on and just let it soak away a few hours, and just distills what you loved about gaming in the first place. And it doesn't feel particularly old in that regard. It doesn't seem like it's a big homage to anything. I just pure enjoyed it. And say, looking back over the year and choosing our favourites, it was something that continued to resonate because I absolutely loved that playthrough so much.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's good. I really
how many
it.
co-op is it? Do you know? Is it 2, 4, or?
I think it's 2.
That's still good. 2-player co-op is still good.
Like I say, it's isometric, and if we do get the next gen machines, because I think it's 30 frames, I think it could do with maybe a 60 frames, but it's and it can be a little bit fiddly shooting the guns until you kind of get the handle of it. But it's just good, and it's good fun. And you can throw things at enemies. It's just don't know.
Looks fun. Looks chaotic.
I've got nothing but good things to say about it because it was just beautiful.
Nice. That's a nice looking game, and I've definitely seen this on like an E3 type.
Yeah, like a showcase, one of those that sort of clicks through the indie games a bit too quickly, and we have to kind of look at them afterwards. And
I always try and write them down, and it gets out of hand. I like it. Apparently, it's on everything. So
it is on everything. Yeah, I think it's just come out on Switch not long ago. But and I think one of the things that put it off, that was a little bit off-putting from the start, was I think it was priced quite high when it came out. I think it was about £26. And I think it is kind of a wait for a sale one. I think under £20 or like £15, perfect. But like I say, I can't say enough good things about how much I enjoyed that playthrough because it was just joyous.
Fab.
And I didn't have that in my kind of in my gaming list, because I always think a lot of indie games aren't sort of generally for me. There'll be a Skyforce that comes in out of nowhere, or an Adventure Pals, which really sort of grabbed me. But
Oceanhorn is the one that reminds me of.
Yeah, I can understand that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I loved it. I think it's really good fun, and it's, if you wanted to get back to your PS1 type glory days, it's a nice one to fall into.
Fabulous.
So then, sir, you're number 3.
My number three. Oh, my number 3. My number 3 is Ken Follett's Pillars of the Earth.
You picked it up.
I did pick it up.
Wow.
I know, right? So the story behind this one. So I was in town one day, popped into CEX on a whim. I'm not calling it sex. They can fuck right off with that. Popped into CEX on a whim. just browsing the games like you do, thinking, I think I was trying to find a Ratchet and Clank game or something. You know, like there might be something here I've been looking for. Let's see what they've got. And my eye got caught by a box art with a ginger man with a scruffy beard in like a sort of French cartoon-looking style. I was like, what the hell is that? I've never heard of this. And I picked it up and I looked at it and I couldn't make sense of it. Like, you know, I didn't know who Ken Follett was. You know, I didn't know anything about the game. I flipped it over like it seems like it's an adventure game, kind of, but about a church. Okay. Interest peaked, but not, you know, I sort of put it down. I was like, I'll go Google that when I get home.
I think you and I had a conversation about this at a certain point.
We might have done.
Because I'd seen a video, and the video looked really unusual and really intriguing.
So, like, I know nothing about the game at this point. Like, absolutely nothing. But, like, that initial kind of impression of, like, just seeing it on a whim and thinking, there's something here. I know there is. But I kind of felt that pull for the next couple of days. I did a couple of Googles, and I sort of read a couple of, like, you know, spoiler-free reviews. And I was like, yeah, I can go for this. It's like a tenner. I was like, yeah, I can go for that. And I went back to CEX and it had gone, but luckily it turned up in a sale on PSN the next day. I was like, well, brilliant, that was meant to be. Click, thank you, 10 quid. So Ken Follett's Pillars of the Earth is a game based on a book, which I didn't know until I booted the game up. Incidentally, it's Ken Follett is the author, and the book is called Pillars of the Earth. Who knew?
Wow.
It's based on a novel. Apparently there's been a TV show made of it as well.
Okay.
Which we now have on DVD, which Laura found at work, which was nice.
Right, cool.
Yeah.
How old is it?
The show or the book?
Well, both.
It is. I'm just checking my memory. Real quick. Published in 1989.
Wow. What about the TV show?
Oh, let me just check my memory real quick. Hang on, I'm just checking my brain. It was 2010, apparently.
Okay.
Oh, that's not as old as it looked on the DVD cover. It doesn't look like it was produced 9 years ago. It looks a lot older than that. Anyway, so it's based on the novel, and it follows the plot pretty closely, from what I've heard. I've not read the novel, but I can do because I got it for Christmas, which was nice. And the copy I've got was a new printing because in the back of the novel is an advert for the game.
Oh, okay.
I was like, I know that game. I've played that game. I like that game. It's a good game. The basic, it's like a Broken Sword style adventure game. Like, not quite that Telltale style, closer to Broken Sword, I would say. Where you're travelling around these really, like, beautifully designed areas. Talking to people, picking up a potato peeler, rub the potato peeler and everything, see if you can work out what you need to do with it. I would say there's probably very few moments where you have an item with it, you don't know what you're supposed to do with it. Like, it's not got that kind of, like, melt wax onto magnet to make hook on string to pick up key from gate. Like, none of that shit. Like, it's not, doesn't get that far into it. You're more about talking to people, and you kind of pick up conversation threads as items, and you say, all right, well, I'm going to talk to this man about this fact and see if he knows anything. It follows a few characters over a long period of time in the, I think, the 1100s onwards, about the fortunes of a small priory in a place called Kingsbridge, sort of set in the middle of England. So they talk about, you go to Winchester at one point. They mention sort of Sussex, a place called Shiring, and there's actual real place names on this thing. It's a real place. The dialogue is excellent, like as you'd expect from a book game, kind of. But like the dialogue's really well written. The characters feel really well realised and have very distinct relationships with each other, and you can sort of see how they bounce and play off each other. I think because you're following like the plot of a book. Yeah, there's some things that have to happen that you can't stop, even if you try. You can't stop these things happening, but you can affect how your characters get there, and then that will change how that they're perceived later on. You sometimes have a choice between coming clean about things or lying about stuff, and that kind of dovetails down a little bit, and you kind of see the seeds of that pay off a little bit later through the story, which is fun. I would say the puzzles are actually quite good. Things you've got to do, like the kind of the conversation puzzles, I would say you're given. One of them quite early on is you're in kind of an argument at the priory about what you're going to do, you're trying to convince someone that you need to make a new church. We need to build a new one. And you're told by someone, just be quiet. Just shut your mouth. It really annoys him when people don't talk. So you come to this event, and he's saying, well, I don't think we should do this. What do you think? And it gives you 4 options, but you just sit there and don't press anything. And he gets more and more annoyed. It's like, why don't you say anything? Speak up, man! And then he'll carry on, and then it'll go to the next one, and you'll sit there and be quietly again. And he'll end up winding himself up to the point where he just gives up, which is amazing. And you wouldn't have known that if you hadn't spoken to that character before. It's really clever. The artwork is gorgeous. Like, the backgrounds are really, really nice, but the characters, they look like, and I know I've said this earlier, like French animation.
Yeah.
Really, like, evocative faces. Like, they've got good expressions for kind of essentially quite, basic 2D looking art, but, like, they look right. They look like they belong in the world. And when you sort of talk to each other, they actually seem to look at each other, interact and chat. It's not just like an anime screenshot with some text at the bottom and then another anime screenshot on the other side with some other text at the bottom. They actually talk and the conversation rappels back and forwards a bit. It's nice, man. It's really nice. The opening credits are good. They remind you of like a BBC historical drama. This sort of big sort of orchestral opening with like shots of a church and sort of the characters sort of framed in sort of black and white. It's nice and that's kind of what it is. I played the whole thing with Laura. She sat next to me. We kind of enjoyed it like a TV show.
Yeah, I'd imagine that'd be a good one to play on the couch with and discuss decisions and watch it play out.
Exactly, yeah, exactly. You the game's broken up into 21 chapters over 3 books, so 7, 7, and 7. And at the end of every chapter, you get you did this, you chose to do this, this happened, and some of it's stuff that obviously has to happen because of the plot, and some of it's stuff that you chose. So you kind of get a reminder of where you are, what's happened. Like, okay, cool, so that, and that happened. Great. And sometimes you'll get like a trophy for doing things a good way or a strange way. Not that I care about trophies anymore, but it was just nice to kind of go, oh, I solved it a clever way. Hey! I like that it takes place over like a couple of decades as well. Like the plot stretches out. Like your main character Jack starts the game as a 10-year-old boy and finishes the game as a 55-year-old man.
Wow.
Yeah. Because you're literally building a cathedral over the course of the game. These things take time. And there will be huge jumps of time where the characters get older. And their voices change and their looks change. And, there'll be children that weren't there before. Which is really good. There's a point in the game where one of your characters basically sort of is run out of town, leaves completely and goes to France. And the girl that, has fallen in love with him goes to France to go find him. And you then spend the next couple of chapters walking around in France trying to find your guy. Okay. It's really good. Like, following threads of, have you seen this man? And no one understands you, but you kind of, give them a rough explanation. They go, oh, yes. And they kind of wave people over and stuff. And you kind of feel like you're piecing a thing together and you can choose on, a world map. So rather than walking around on a world map, you've got a map and a couple of locations. You just pick one, and you'll get the Indiana Jones red line will take you there, and you'll get some dialogue, some choices, and different things will happen based on which way you went. Which is a nice way of filling in the walking between two places bit with letting things actually happen. I think the pace is quite slow. It's not a quick game. You're not going to be banging through it like an Uncharted, mile a minute. It's definitely a lot more considered, a lot slower because things take a lot longer to happen. But I think it gives it a lot more time to marinate. You get more time to learn who these people are and to learn what their motivations are and to really understand why the dickheads are dickheads. I would say there's one moment that stuck out that I thought, yeah, this is good. That made me realize how much I actually really like this game. So 2 of the main characters are falling for each other during the game, and around halfway through, she gives him like a sexy book to read, like the secret book that you're not allowed to know about, like a 50 Shades of Grey type thing, not quite a Kama Sutra, but like a sexy book. And he reads it, and then they meet under a tree later near the priory, and they're reading bits to each other. And you can choose who reads the section that comes up, and they react differently to each other. So rather than sort of pick the icon, it says, well, she could say this, or he could say that. And like, oh, I'm controlling both technically right. Oh, that's nice, because they kind of come together as a unit, and I'm choosing how they respond together. It's a really small moment, but like it really endeared the game to me. Like, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
It's a really, really good Broken Sword type story-based game. It's like a tenner. And if you've got any interest in like historical fiction or any of these story-based games that you can just sit back and just watch with an audience, just give it a go. It's really good.
Cool.
I love it. And the main character is a scruffy ginger piece of shit.
I think in the TV series, that's Eddie Redmayne.
Is it really?
Yeah.
I'm just gonna check my memory real quick. Just gonna check my memory.
Ian McShane, Matthew McFadyen, Eddie Redmayne.
That is Eddie Redmayne.
Hayley Atwell.
That is, yeah.
Wow. Looks like you got some watching ahead of you.
I've got a watch ahead of me.
Cool. Well, you'll have to update us when you've seen the TV series. It's got some good reviews on the episodes as well.
And I'm going to read the book. The book is over 1,000 very dense pages. I'm very excited.
Hey.
It's
a Q84 last year, and that was 1,200 pages.
It's a doorstop of a book. Very excited.
Cool.
So that's my number 3, which I did not expect this year out of the blue, and it's probably my most odd choice I've picked this year. And I hope people listening that have not heard of it, because none of you have, seek it out because it's good. Oddness is goodness. Chase the weird. Yes. And now back to the straight and narrow, because my number 3 is Destiny 2. Boo! No, okay, carry on. I started back playing midway through the year, just bouncing in and listening to K-pop while doing bounties and stuff. But the two sync together really well. A nice place to unwind, listen to some tunes, and make things go boom. Psh. I really enjoyed the I can't remember the name of the event, the Vertical European Dead Zone area. I think just before you came onto it, actually. And pounced about in there a fair bit. Shadowkeep arrived in September. And I've still not really gone near any of the story missions yet, but absolutely caned the Battle Pass with the same bounties and K-pop momentum as before, but with extra momentum. Oh. You and I did a few runs at the Halloween event, which was great. That was really funny. So much candy. I liked the big scary nightmare man who you couldn't hurt. That was great. Like, oh god, he's here. Run. And there was that bit at the end and you weren't quite sure which bit was going to drop to bits. Yeah, that was good. Work got daft towards Christmas and it became more and more essential for escape. As hours became silly, something that wasn't chatty, that I could just fall into and enjoy, really fit my lifestyle, I guess. There was a thing with the Undying Mind being scattered through multiple realities, which meant seeing a portal being slowly built in the tower and eventually going in with about 6 guardians and defeating the persistent metal bugger with loot for every time you did it, and I did that a fair bit. December bought the second Battle Pass, which had me really excited in the run-up, and the way Bungie has passed information has been really cool. People criticised the live stream, the last one, just before sort of all the new events kicked in and stuff, but Luke Smith said after he was happy for people to not know everything, and then for folks are ready to be surprised. So it's not just like the live stream, this is what's coming, this is everything you're getting. They detailed loads of stuff, but there's been stuff they didn't tell you about amongst that, and puzzles that people have been trying to figure out, and special weapons and unknown quests and stuff. I've just seen on Kotaku today, actually, there's people been working out, there's a maze or something? Yeah. And they've worked it out now. It looks like, I've looked at a picture of it, and how do you begin? And I mean, we're told currently that time is broken and the Red Legion are attempting to find a timeline where they won the war. The side effect of this has been the re-emergence of the legendary Saint 14. His shotgun is in the first game, I think, and we not only see him reborn as part of this, but we also hand his shotgun back to him. Oofed. Lado's in the tower and he's genuinely fantastic. You listen to him talking about looking forward to returning to Russia,
And he starts talking about how when the darkness invaded, he was there fighting them away, patching up every hole in the wall, and like inspiring the other Guardians to pick themselves up and to fight on. And I was like, yes, indeed.
Go on, son.
The Sundial event, which is going on at the minute, where you battle Red Legion through time, has been aces. You fight off super powerful baddies, break down the shields of mega bosses and progress. The areas are small, it's absolute chaos, and there's gear to be snared. There was the Dawning event recently, where Eva Levante gives you an oven in which you can bake cookies. Different races drop different ingredients based on the weapons you kill them with, like Vex Butter, Dark Candy Cane, etc. And you bake cookies and deliver them to the NPCs across the galaxies. This involves a Santa's sled type sparrow, although I am now racing about in a sparrow that looks like a polar bear. It looks like somebody snapped it off a fairground ride, but of course I coloured it coffee colour, so it's like coffee bear.
Of course you did.
Also, Eva Levante, like this is combating like T-Bastard in the European Dead Zone. She just went, "Let's all have a cup of coffee," or something like that, and I went like, "You are more than shaders, more than shaders, more than shaders to me." So there is rumours that Sparrow Racing's coming back.
I like Sparrow Racing.
I know you did. You
I was good at that
as well.
I was good at Sparrow Racing. I could win.
So, and there's within the surprises that they've got, there are new kind of pieces of lore that are coming in around like weapons that are there. And I found a video on YouTube, and I was watching this just going like, Jesus Christ. They were detailing like the latest teasers and stuff, and this outstanding piece about this group of Guardians who went adventuring in the Black Garden, and suddenly the ghosts fell from the sky in front of them, and something had changed. They'd heard a voice but couldn't attest to where it was coming from. The Guardians disappeared, and the link to finding them, indeed getting them back, may be Cade 6.
Ooh.
And as it turns out, like these were kind of a specific group that Cade relied on, and I think one of them had heard the darkness first, and it had spoken to them, and they'd done a deal with it to basically like betray their friends, but all of the friends had done the deal. Plus, Emo Boy from the Reef has re-emerged in the Dreaming City. He's no idea who he is or why he's back, but he's aware of his crimes and he's currently in hiding. So whoever's doing story duties at Bungie is on fire, and I'm bloody excited. If this like future stuff, if this next season that's coming in March is the Dark Guardians Cade stuff, that's awesome.
Does the other stuff stay in the world, like the Vex invasion stuff? Is that still something you can go and do? Because my always concern with that sort of stuff is that if you end up behind, like I was, then you might miss stuff.
The events get replaced. So the way that they're moving on story now is obviously there's the big expansions like Shadowkeep, which will come like every September or whatever. But every 3 months, I think it is, there'll be kind of a focus on certain weapons. They'll move on the story with maybe a returning character or something happening in the game, and like a new series of quests and like a new special event thing, like the Halloween event or the Sundial or the Black Garden. There'll be something special that kind of comes in amongst that, and they'll basically set up your next 2 or 3 months of playing the game. But the story now is evolving, and they're not focusing on these sort of big events, these tentpole events being there all the time. They're actually content to kind of give content to the fan base, and to the stuff they're doing with the story is just fantastic. I heard that Dark Guardian stuff and just went, what? And yeah, I'm genuinely excited to see what happens with that. And also they were saying that the reason that Saint 14 came back was a specific instance that Osiris had found on Mercury, that led to him being able to come back, and it's something completely specific to that place and him being in that time, and the managing to isolate that moment that they can bring him back. And also, we're not ruling out the fact that he could die again and give you the shotgun before he dies. Could go back to the past and give you that shotgun in Destiny 1.
Ooh.
At the end of it, which is fucking what? But this maze that they're doing at the minute, I'm wondering if that maze is a journey through time to lead back to a specific incident. And if that is Cade 6, I don't know, but it's really cool. And the fact that on this event they didn't tell you stuff, they held stuff back. And when they were criticised about sort of, well, there's the roadmap and you showed us some stuff, but and Luke Smith's just like, it's not everything that's there. I like that. Let's discover stuff. It makes those 2 or 3 months kind of special. So, yeah, I wonder what kind of. Oh yeah, one of the finishes in this season is a Glasgow kiss.
Okay.
So you've had your kind of palm punches and you've had your haymakers and all that sort of stuff. It is delicious headbutting of Vex. Because you just lean back and you proper give them it. But it's been good, and yeah, and even though there's been lots of story stuff, like direct story stuff that I still need to do with Forsaken and with Shadowkeep, I'm enjoying the way that the stories are evolving and stuff. I find it really funny that Saint 14 is fascinated with pigeons. It's I'm enjoying being in that space, and it's been, it's I returned to it again with curiosity, but found a good time, and it's nice listening to K-pop and shooting stuff. And I am just hearing like, "Give me a guardian, take them back," and I just know that I've picked up like the triangle from Quality Street. And that means that I kill lots of things.
Yeah, just shoot the mans.
That drop the triangle from Quality Street. But yeah, it's been fun. I've been picking up loads of legendary weapons as well, which is cool. They've rebalanced the Bright Dust economy. So there's more stuff that's going to be available to buy in Bright Dust, and you can get more Bright Dust as well from doing missions. So there's loads of that cracking off, and they select a number of things sort of per week that you can buy, but they're up-to-date things that you're allowed to buy, which is kind of neat.
Not last season's cast-offs.
No, I mean there is still the engrams where you can get a previous season's, something from a previous season.
But the Bright Dust has some like, hey, look at this new thing. Like, oh, cool.
Plus, just the greatest thing. I mean, I've got a weapon which, when I shoot somebody and they detonate, I can basically get chain reactions from people that are detonating in front of them. But even better than that, I've got a pair of trousers that if I run, it reloads my gun.
Nice.
So literally, like I'll start sprinting, and like a few seconds later, I hear, and it's hard not to. It's hard to move on from that exotic and use something else when the other ones don't load my gun. I can walk into fashion shops now and buying a pair of jeans for myself in the real world. And my first thought is, will they reload my weapon?
Depends which weapon.
Which is kind of the same thing as... kind of the same thing as when a customer comes in on Friday and they're like, "Oh, I'm glad it's Friday," and like in the back of my mind I just see Zer. probably looking forward to seeing Zer. But yeah, I've picked up a few of the legendary weapons from Destiny 1 in drops as well.
Cool.
Which has been nice, because often you hear about these things and you go, "Well, I never got that because it was part of grinding a raid or something." And yeah, it's just I'm enjoying the heck out of it. It's good fun.
Nice. I'd love it if I could have those legendary... What was the legendary Still Piercer? Was the sniper rifle I had in Destiny 1. It was the Hunter exclusive one. Yeah, he got like an exclusive legendary, and then you get an exclusive exotic for each class. That was the... Oh, if that dropped. Oh.
Yeah, there's been a few...
Me and that gun. That gun went through those raids with us. Love that gun.
I still like the... I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. I've got an auto rifle that just electrifies enemies, and if I get shot, it makes it more sort of resonant. So it just will travel between enemies if I've taken damage, and I like that a huge amount. Also, it does a thing whereby if I'm taking damage, I think this is it. If I'm taking damage and I'm still shooting, the gun keeps on automatically reloading.
Ooh.
So I don't have to reload it. It will just keep going and shoot faster, as far as I can tell. It's a great little gun. I love it to pieces. But yeah, it's I like it. It's good fun, and the events are great. And I've enjoyed baking cookies.
I enjoyed that trip back we took. I mean, I picked up Shadowkeep myself and never quite got further than the first mission on it before, again, life kicked in, and I had to kind of shelve it for a bit. But I've always got it
because we had a time, and there's no other game where you can chat shit to your mate and catch up at the same time as in the same way as I'm listening to K-pop. You can get on Destiny 2. You can sit down. You can go to like Titan. With your bounties and stuff, and be like, yeah, so how have you been? Yeah, well, work's been pretty shitty, and you can just properly like blah, 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 whilst making things.
And then whoops, it's midnight.
Yeah, but there's no other game that does that in the same way.
Do you know what the only thing that's stopping me from reinstalling is?
The size of it.
God, that file size it's hateful. God, it upset. I had to clear off so much shit just to update it last time. I had to clear off like 2 or 3 hefty old games to make space for it, and like. Then having to re-download them again, it's like, should not patching not need twice the size of the game to do? Like, surely you can just patch it on top. It shouldn't be this hard.
I think you've got to download the new stuff and then replace it. So I think it's just it's just downloading that first stuff before it replaces the other. I don't think the file size stays the same as.
So it downloads a gig, but then it needs 120 gigs to make that gig go onto the 120 you've already got, and it's like. Really?
Yeah, it is what it is. But
it's the only thing I think living on an original PS4 with the 500 gig hard drive, and that's it goes quick, especially when you're trying like we've done this year to try lots of different stuff. I've always got 3 or 4 things on the go, and Laura might have 1 or 2 things she's playing, so I don't want to sit here and delete off Dragon Quest Build or something that Laura's been playing, or she was playing a bit of Witcher again this year. I didn't want to delete that off. That's like hours to re-download.
I mean, it's going to be interesting when next gen comes around, when file sizes are even bigger, and they're going to have to put like at least 2 terabyte drives in those new systems if they're SSDs.
Do you remember back on smaller hardware, like on discs, when they try so hard to squeeze as much as possible onto a disc, and now it's like fuck it, just put 100 gigs worth of bloat in there, it's fine. Like, there must be something they can do. It can't be 120 gigs worth of install as well as a disc. It can't be.
It's not.
It's ridiculous.
Sort of crunching sizes of games doesn't seem to be as prevalent as it once was. Because, like you were saying, they're getting it on the disc. Plus, when PS3 was around, because the Blu-ray drive couldn't read as fast as DVD drive, they were putting multiple instances of games on the same disc because the reader couldn't fly back fast enough to go and grab them. So that might have been the start of it, really.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Make games reasonably sized again so I can install, or just make the install process on the PS4 not take twice the size of the game to make it work. That's to be honest, I'd play more of it. I just can't give it the hard drive space at the moment.
I think the issue is at this point that everybody needs external storage. Because I've got it on my One X and it's still I trim it back every now and again, but I've got room to play about with if I really want to try and load it up. I think I've got 2 or 4 terabytes on my SSD, and then I've got not SSD, but on my external, and then I've got a terabyte that's inside it. So, and I've not used the internal stuff. I've just used the external. But yeah, it's getting to the point where you have to really. Yeah. Anyway, that's my number 3, Destiny 2.
Very good. Very good.
Tell me your number 2 game of last year.
2 game.
Your number 2 game
of 2019. 2 game. My number 2 game is a game that I'm sure we're going to hear a little bit more about later. My number 2 game this year is The Surge.
Okay, my number 2 game of the year is The Surge.
Okay! I wondered if it might have been your number 1. Good, let's do this together then. That's good. This has worked out well.
Yeah.
I'll start then.
You fire away nicely.
Cool. So this one...
I'm going to light a candle.
Because we did it again.
Warren.
We did it again.
I'm lighting a candle for Warren.
This is another you recommendation that has become a thing that both of us have fallen into. I think it was Plus. Did it come to Plus? Or Game Pass or something?
It came to Game Pass originally, I think, and
but I think I'd grabbed it from Plus the month before or something. I'm sure I had.
Yes, and I think I'd ignored it from Plus.
Me too.
I think,
yeah.
And it come to Game Pass, and I think it was one of those. Again, Game Pass is amazing for this stuff. That I don't know. I stuck it on and went in with no expectations, and that opening sequence is just. I was in.
Isn't it good?
Absolutely in. And I mentioned it before, but I remember seeing the trailer and just going like, Warren? Why would I want to play somebody called Warren? Where's the character creator? I don't want to be Warren. And then you play this game and you see the trailer for the second one where there's a character creator and you go like, Where's Warren? Where is he? What have you done with Warren?
No, fully agree. Like, Warren's great, and I thought his intro was fantastic. Coming in on a train to this kind of Amazon that have gone a bit up themselves.
Well, it's not just that. Because it's... The thing that I really liked about the plot is it feels plausible within... climate sort of issues that have meant that there's been a rise in deformities. And there's a company called Creo that are looking into it. They're trying to combat that, but they've also created this exoframe that will allow the disabled to basically stand and to work. And they're bringing more and more of those people in to try and find a cure. And Warren's one of the people that go in to sign up. And you watching, your Half-Life type train coming in, and then they give you control of the character, and you're in a wheelchair. And I was like, oh. And then
it's really well played because it's behind a wall, and you're like, oh, cool, I'm just sitting on a chair, and like, oh.
Yeah. And then you go in to get your exosuit,
which you can choose, which you didn't realise, did you?
No, I didn't realise you could choose the Rhino, which is the more heavily armoured one, or the Lynx, which is the faster one. And you just hear, was it anaesthetic?
Sedation complete. And
yeah, and he just goes,
no, it isn't.
And then you just see that thing being drilled into his bones. And then the logo comes up, and I was just like, that's made quite an impression on me. I'm really in. Found the combat was like super good fun. We mentioned before that it's a little bit Dead Space. It felt weighty. It felt fun.
I would say I've written methodical but punchy. Like, because of the weapon that I chose, I was using the single rigged weapons, which is like basically imagine a giant metal blob that you stick on one arm and you whack, like a mace. I think would be the alternative in another game. It would be like the mace of this game. Like most of my fights, I decided in 2 or 3 big, heavy, decisive hits, and I like that. But I'm still got the bounce and the mobility that you expect out of like the more flighty games. Like you can
like
still
Bloodborne, yeah.
whiz. You can still whiz around a bit, and you can still I mean, if you spec for a light guy, so I initially went quite heavy on my armour and was walking around like the slowest man who'd ever lived. And that wasn't working, so I switched my gear out, I put on lighter gear, and I was like, cool, I'm Jonathan Jackrabbit, flipping in and out, punching you with my big arm.
You see, I forget what I favoured at the start, but I then got that big, chunky orange hammer and started playing Whack-A-Day with it. And super got into that because of the weight of the thing. And this is one thing that I loved, that when you did a dash and you literally took the hilt of the weapon and smashed it into their stomach, it really like wind them, and then I think you could uppercut with the top of the hammer and stuff, and it got like. Also, the follow through on the combos were fantastic, and it would proper knock the shit out of somebody. And I went on with that for quite a while until I found, I think it was a spear that I'd found in Creo World from the Blokey boss battle that was there, which was really good. And that then went on until I got the bayonet from the second DLC, which was just, it was a spear with ba-boom, ba-boom, ba-boom. Yeah.
I very much enjoyed the single rig weapon from the DLC that was a giant sodding coffin strapped to one of your arms.
That was very good. But
good weapon.
We'll talk into this because the DLC is essential for this game. Flat out essential. And rather than it being something that you can play at the end, it slots into the main game.
Both of them do, actually.
Yeah. I mean, Creo World is a big theme park that was created for the people that worked for Creo, that worked in the facility, so that they didn't have to go to a regular theme park and maybe potentially be stared at because of the exoskeletons and stuff. And their families could be there, and it's big, it's bright, there are characters. There's a coffee bean man and a donut, little creature with a donut for a head, and a half-eaten chocolate bar and a can of pop called the Popcorn Parade. And when the surge happens, they all go mad. And it's the brightest, most brilliant-looking place, and yet it's genuinely disturbing.
I like...
That's a wee bit of a spoiler, mate.
Okay.
But it's there. If anybody hasn't picked up the surge and has listened to us before, yeah.
But it's good. It's good, and it's satisfying, and there's some good stuff going on. I like that both DLCs, both the theme park Creo World and the cowboy, like, what am I thinking? What do I want to say? That the cowboy combat missions have been put in. Add stories into the world without disrupting the pace of the game or the narrative. Like, it's still going on. You're not like, oh, now I'm going to tell you a story about this place. Like, they slot in.
It's still, I mean, the main story is really good sci-fi. Really good sci-fi. And the tonal shift of Creo World is brilliant, but the Wild West stuff with a mad scientist who suddenly decides he's going to create a series of training rooms based around his favourite TV show that's been cancelled.
Yep.
Is just bonkers, but it also gives you kind of a nexus for the game as well, because there are certain doors that will lead to certain places in the game. So rather than having to run back to somewhere and try and find it, because there's no fast travel until then.
No, nothing.
You can basically walk into new areas and stuff. And
I found this out upsettingly late.
But it's classy as anything. All the gear is superb. One thing that I've noticed from the Surge 2's, some of the DLC outfits, there's a mascot for the local football team or basketball team or something, and it's essentially a repainted version of the wolf stuff from the Wild West stuff, but it's done like a fox.
Oh, that's cool.
For the mascot of the sports team. I was like, well played.
I like that. That's clever.
Yeah, please continue on. I'm butting in.
Yeah, no, I think for me the star of the game is the world. The actual
100%.
areas, like every one of these zones has its own like mini story going on inside of it. There's the surge that's taken out initially. You start in like the scrapyard, and you've got a lot of men who have gone absolutely wackadoo, and sort of rage blind almost, that you have to fight. And then as things progress and you meet more human enemies, they're still not nice to you. But like each story has its own. There's like little stories going on each level, and they've got their own feel. Even like your very basic level hub, Central Production B, where you kind of revisit and come back to, and it's kind of like your middle. It's still a level in its own right, but you kind of it exists in the middle of everything you're doing. Like you'll go back and things will have evolved a bit, and the story will have pushed things on. And
there was a certain area I returned to, and I didn't expect to see the enemies that I'd previously faced being murdered by other things, and I literally swore when I saw it happening, and I didn't expect it. I'll also say in that area as well, there's some great storytelling with regards to the sign on the wall. You see like a bridge being built higher and higher by all these workmen and these droids, and this sign on it, and it's basically a plaque for all the people that had jumped off and committed suicide. And as you go deeper into that, you find out that there are not enough workers, and that the workers are having to use implants to push on beyond human capabilities. And when the surge kicked in and things became like people went mad, there was this one audio log, I think, where they were saying that at first, like, people were being killed and the chips were being sort of surgically removed almost. And as things went on and things became more and more chaotic, you can tell that they were pulled out by fingernails. There was even a log later on with a woman who, when the surge hit, she ran and she ran, and it was only when she got to a med bay that somebody told her that she'd lost sight in one of her eyes, and the panic had affected her to such a degree she hadn't even considered that until it was spoken to her. The storytelling in that is amazing. The kind of the Terminator-like robots that are there, and some will drag themselves along the floor.
Oh, God, the first time that happened, I did a shit.
But later on, you will get them that fall and just ignite again. And then you get certain ones that don't fall. They stand there when you've killed them and then just energize again. Just like you see the electricity flow through them and they come back at you. And I was like, that's so good. And the storytelling was so subtle and it felt so curated. And we mentioned in the previous show that the Creo corporate facility is just a masterstroke. As much as I'd enjoyed the game and I was super into the story and the world at that point, it was a change of pace. It kind of, you'd still got like quite a challenge ahead of you, but it just felt different, like it had shifted another gear. And all the quiet music was just lulling you into almost a false sense of security. Never mind what you were fighting, for the things that it was going to do.
So good. So good.
I liked it a tremendous amount.
I liked it a tremendous amount. It's so good. So good. And again, it's another one of these ones I'm kind of upset at myself for ignoring it initially. I don't know why. I think maybe just visually I was like, not really. But like that level of like 2000 AD, big, chunky, real tech, it's not all... It is curves, really... and I think that's what puts me off Mass Effect sometimes. Is you look at it and it's all curves and everything slots in nicely. It's all like swish future. This is chunky future. This is bolts and blood and rust and
it felt like a step on, like a very tiny step on from where we are now and what we have, and that like Creo's promise, if you will, for what they were trying to do, seemed plausible, and there's an altruistic aspect to them doing this, which is entirely fair enough. But when you meet the two groups of scientists in the game, one of them was doing a slow process of testing and trying to figure something out. The other one had a different idea, and they got faster results. But when the surge hit, their dramatic results were the ones that really fell off the radar. And both of these scientists maintain that they know how to put it right, how to put their own stuff right, and don't trust the other. And they don't ever make you take sides with them. It's two scientists who have completely different views who believe that they can put it right. I loved that. That's really good. Also, those dogs. Those robot dogs are terrifying.
3-legged dog creatures.
Yeah, and they're kind of backflips and tails, and in many ways they've kind of cleared out the levels when those fuckers come along. But man, do you give them all wide berth when you have to?
You can actually find a bunch of them in the first level, like hidden.
Oh, just lying there.
Just lying there, and then later,
lying there
do you go
until
there later,
you come back.
They're not there.
Yes, because they. Oh God, I hadn't even put two and two together.
They're the ones that get up
down
and go
in the level. Yeah,
and go clear. Like that's those guys. Like that's really clever.
It's super good. And the weird thing is that for something that was pegged as a Souls clone, it did so much that I completely wasn't expecting, and I think for me, it's one of the most radical shake-ups of the formula. If From had put that out, everybody would be saying it's a masterpiece. Genuinely believe it. And I know some people have complained about like the levels being quite tight, and I liked that. Again, it felt like a rational world. It felt tangible.
I will say this: it feels, because they're so tight. Do you know what you get all the time? Shortcut porn, baby.
Yeah.
Oh my god! When you open the door and you cut open a lift, you're like, oh my god! I've got nothing left. I'm out of my healing things. I'm really tired. I'm like, oh, there's the med bay. You magical bastard.
Also, you know when you there's a point in the second level where you climb up quite high and you see a boss from a distance and you go, that is a really big machine. Oh. I'm going to be fighting the really big machine.
I've got to go there, haven't I?
It's great. It's a really good fight. And there are 2 stages to the weapons that you can get with every boss fight.
Yeah, you get a weapon for killing it and a weapon if you kill it in a certain way.
Yeah. Which
is really, really good.
Superb.
Good game. Good game. I wish I'd spent more time with the sequel.
Now, I watched Co Carnage play the DLC recently, because it was Co was the one that turned my head towards it in the first place, because I think the sequel was coming and he was going to get an early version of it. I think it might have done, or they'd announced the date for the sequel, and he was like, I'm going to do another run of the Surge. I was like, okay, I'll sit and watch some of this, and I was like, oh, this is really good. Oh fuck. And so yeah, I mean, with the sequel, I watched him do the DLC, the new DLC recently, and it's based around when the surge hits. There's a bunch of rich people who move away from the destroyed city onto an aircraft carrier and turn it into a 1950s town with picket fences and grass and old houses, and it's completely retro. There's boom boxes, and all of the robots from the first game that are on Earth have become sentient and become pirates.
I'm sorry?
Yeah. And there's a helmet in there that's called the Power Helm, which is essentially a mullet with a sweatband.
What?
There are
Surge 2 Power Helm. Looking at Google now. Please continue.
So there's one bit where there's this giant mech thing attacking you in the backyard, and it seals it off, so you literally are fighting on the grass in somebody's backyard. And Code died, and somebody in the chat said, turn on the boombox in the garage next time you go in. So he turned on this boombox, and it was just white noise. And he went into the boss battle, and it essentially did a version of the Venga bus.
What?
While he was fighting this mech, and there are spider flowers that kind of drill up from the ground and like come out from the front of lawns and attack you. There's a sentient creature that's been cut off from the rest of the hive mind of the robots, and they've essentially left him so he can't walk, but they've put him on a couch in a house and he watches old videos.
Oh.
It's really weird. And there's this kind of giant overlord metal octopus looking over things, and if it's like the Eye of Sauron. If its gaze finds you, it just sends loads of pirate robots in to get you. It was really weird and really good.
That's really cool.
So I watched that and I was like, okay, I'm going to come back to the sequel. Now, all of the media have said that, the sequel to The Surge is far better than it. I didn't feel that way. I didn't feel that way from the start. The character creator, where you can pick your own backstory, doesn't seem to have any relevance whatsoever, other than the fact that you're a mute character. And I think
they mentioned. I had one moment where there's a line where it's like, because you're a. I think I picked like the CEO or like the office worker one, and they mentioned like, you work in an office, so you can do this, this, this. Like, okay.
But yeah, and from the start, I was playing on Xbox One X, and there was horrendous screen tearing, and that shouldn't be happening on One X. It just shouldn't, not for this kind of game. And it was giving me like really bad headaches, and I had to manage my time with it so that I couldn't really play it before bed, and I couldn't really play it before work, and I really wanted to get into it, but couldn't because of that. And every time there was a new patch, I'd kind of go in to see if anything is stabilised, and certain things have, and certain things hadn't, and there were still points where things were tearing like a loon, maybe mainly in sort of the old city and stuff. So after I saw the DLC with Carol, I was like, right, I missed the Surge, so I'm gonna go back in and sort of persist and stuff. And I explored further, upgraded a bit, got my implants in order, met an old friend, tried a few different weapons, still didn't venture into directional blocking, and kept on bloodborning it, like dashing in and bouncing about and doing spear stuff, in a similar way to the way that I played the first game. But I was going all around, and I got sort of quite a way into it, and ventured into the forestry level. Mm-hmm. I'm looking around, and I'm seeing the EMP starfish thing on more and more doors, and I'm like, I haven't got that. Have I missed something? So I go back to like the main area, and I'm trotting around and I'm smashing into stuff, and I'm like, I genuinely don't know where I've not gone. And so I looked up a YouTube playthrough, and do you know the thing that I missed? Do you know how far into this YouTube playthrough it was?
Go on.
Episode 4.
Ooh.
It was literally a character where I'd think I'd just fucked them off, but one of the dialogue choices took me into a new area, and in that new area, I think I might have had a bit of trouble if I'd have gone early in the game, but I'm essentially walking into that level now as a god, and apparently the boss is weak to nanites, which I've got him in the end of my spear. But it's still, I mean, I know the pressures of an independent studio and how they've got to get things out, and they're probably working like crazy behind the scenes, trying to get the DLC out, trying to stabilize the game, all of that sort of stuff. But it really did launch in a broken state for me. And that kind of broke my heart to a degree, because I genuinely think Deck 13 are great. They did brilliant couple of days on The Surge with the devs playing it before The Surge 2 came out, which is superb. But I still think the game's fucking brilliant. It doesn't... The second game seems like everybody's chucked in mad ideas, and all of those are existing at once, but it doesn't feel like a city, it feels like a level. And the first one felt more curated. It felt like one person was really guiding the story.
It felt like a facility.
Yeah, it felt like a real place.
That would work.
And I don't feel that way. I mean, admiration of the shortcut porn, and yes, absolutely, everybody chiming in with our ideas and stuff. It seems like everybody's having fun, but my heart's not all over it in the same way. I'm not as engaged as I was from a story point of view, in the same way as I was with The Surge. But I still think the sequel's great, and I'm still having tons and tons of fun with it. And I am playing quite heavily now, and with kind of The Surge 1 and 2 like glomming together for me with this one. The more I'm getting into The Surge 2, the more this was kind of nibbling at number 1.
I thought for sure.
Yeah.
Based on the chats we've had, I thought for sure this would have been your number 1. So I look forward to seeing what it actually is.
Well, do you want to go for your number 1 then?
Go on then.
Do it.
Big boys time. We got big boys now.
Yeah.
My number 1 game, my favourite thing I've played out of all 2019. What's this? It's Elix.
You played it again?
No, I played it this year.
Didn't you do a song about it?
Yes, during the year. Don't even. Don't even. No, because I might have believed you. No, I definitely played it this year, right?
Are you sure?
100%.
Are you super sure?
I will set you on fire.
Oh my god, are you really sure?
If you did, I'm very sure. Don't even. Elix was my favourite game I played this year. Because I know that it was my favourite game I played this year. Because after we played Immortal, that's when I started looking out this sort of stuff.
Yeah, and I was hanging on. I was hanging on, waiting to see if you were going to get it, so we could play it together.
So
when was that episode?
So, going back to the
when
episode
was that episode?
The one that we almost didn't put out.
Yeah,
it was this
really
year. Don't even. It was this year.
The one where I did the diss track at the end.
Yeah. Look, man, I forgot. All right. I tried. Okay, I forgot.
This kind of comes to roost with you, like the other day on DMs, where you were just, what was it?
It was Kamen Rider. It was, I thought, oh yeah, that's the thing that they were going to happen, which I totally said was going to happen. You were like, no, I said that was going to happen, and I looked back and it was totally you that had said it.
Scroll up, motherfucker.
Look, man, it's been a bit of a year.
That's a Twin Humanities t-shirt that was never put out. Maybe somebody can put that on the side of a mug for me. With you just looking up.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, you could be on the inside of the mug, just like looking upwards.
Going, did I say that?
Yeah.
Anyway, Elix then.
Okay.
Open world game developed by about 15 people. Again,
and good friends with Deck 13. They go to the pub together.
Yeah, Piranha Bytes. Is Elix the most stable game I played this year? No.
No.
Is it the best put together game I played this year? No. Are the characters like the most well realised and interesting? No. Does it play the best of the games this year? No. But was it the most fun I had this year? Yes. Like, Elix is, and the word for it, which I'm not sure if I like, is Eurojank.
Yeah, I'm not super keen on that either.
Because it implies that it's broken. And it's not broken, it's just ambitious and tries things, and I would say perhaps unpolished, not broken. It is
but
weird.
Often does things that are better than regular games. You take the rough with the smooth.
Yeah, exactly. So Elix is weird, and it's big, and it is ambitious to a fault, and it doesn't always hit. But when the ideas that it has hit, they're really freaking good. So your basic premise for Elix, for those that hadn't listened to I believe we called it the Forgotten episode, I think.
The last episode, yeah.
That was the one.
It up from March.
There you go. Told you it's this year. You owe me a Coke. Basic...
I'll get you on with something really shitty on the side.
The basic premise...
like deceit.
Big old meteor crashed years ago, bringing this alien substance called Elix to the world, which has multiple uses. Essentially opens up magic and super science type stuff. It's like a cool, wonderful, solve everything magical substance. Your character is an alb, who is a clan who consume the Elix and try and covet it for themselves to become more... It makes you more robotic, more efficient, more emotionless. It makes you a more efficient machine of killing. The world's obviously gone to shit since that happened. And the game starts with you being essentially cast out because you failed a mission. You had to assassinate someone and it went wrong, so you are then subsequently kicked out, essentially, and taken off your Elix, so you don't have it anymore. Your character's name is Jax with an X, which is really bad, and I like it a lot. Your aim is to find your shit, work out who betrayed you, and get revenge, basically. Initially, at least.
Talk about your boy's voice.
It's really good.
I knew as soon as I saw that character with a cowboy hat, glasses, a jet belt, and that voice, I was like, Pat is in. It's essentially like smooth talking wrestler man takes on Fallout.
He kind of talks down there and very cool and low and the fact you can find sunglasses early on is very good. It's very, very good. So the game has in Elix, it has levels of like choice and decision making and playing people off each other that AAA games like to pretend that they have, I think.
How are they doing this on such a small budget and pulling that off? Because you told me a few things about the things that you've done, and they sound more advanced than your Bethesda's kind of have a pop at.
Yeah, and like there's so many different ways you can go about anything. Every skill is useful. Every choice you might make in leveling your character is useful. Every conversation you have, there are ways out of that conversation that could end with that character liking you or hating you or, you know, wanting to be your best friend or willing to work for you. Like, things you can do will piss off other people as well. Like, every single quest that I've played, like, I've done a bit of looking up afterwards, has, you know, some of like 5 or 6 different ways they can end. With like different stories, like side quests and main missions, and just little odd, interesting little, you know, things that are happening, sort of that dip in and out of the orbits of each other. It's not like you've got the main quest and you've got the side stuff. The side stuff happens because you're on the main quest and you meet people on the way there, and they then have their own things they need doing. And if you do their stuff, they might then join you in and give you a hand on the main quest, and it all kind of cycles together. I mean, one of your first missions is to find your gear, your alb, you know, armor, which is really, really good. And you chase down, you find the guy who took it, but he's already since sold it, and you know he's got his own problems. But he said, "Look, if you help me with my problems, then I'll try and help you find your stuff back." You know, genuinely sorry, mate. Didn't mean, you know, you just got to make a buck in this world, haven't you? And he becomes one of the, I must say this, better companions.
Okay. By
the end of it, even though he's robbed you blind initially. I would say I probably spent about an hour in the first city, the Berserker City, which is like a very sort of fantasy Skyrim-looking place, essentially, with guys who insist that, no, don't use the Elix, we're going to refine it into mana, and we're going to use magic. And we're going to live off nature, and we're going to deal with just, you know, no guns, no technology, which is bullshit, because there's a few people that live in that town like, nah, we like technology, just don't tell anyone, right? And you can choose, do I want to rat that person out? You know? And you can rat people out sometimes as part of a quest. Like, you can say, actually, do you know what? He's actually got tech. Do you want to go? And then they'll vanish or they'll get kicked out of the clan, and you'll meet them later in the world, and they want to kill you. Or you can say no, and you can then use them as a fence or like a black market to kind of get cool stuff that you wouldn't normally be allowed to have, but you've got to be quiet about it. Every time you fire off your jetpack in this kind of very kind of low-grade, low-tech city, somebody will tell you off. Or every time you open up your menu, which is like a wristwatch computer thing, like a Fallout like Pip-Boy type thing. You've got like a wrist computer you activate. Which, hilariously, because, the game is not particularly amazingly polished, sometimes your character model won't move out of the way, so you'll just see half of a head in front of the menu. You have to move around a bit, and try it again to actually get to your menu, which is funny. I thought it was funny. So yeah, if you open your menu, people go, put that technology away. Stop it. You're like, all right, mate, I'm just checking what time it is. Fuck. I think the combat and gameplay are quite interesting. It's quite basic third-person combat with your lights, your heavies, and you've got some special stuff. You can throw grenades, or you've got like powers you can chuck in as well. It's quite simple, but the jetpack gives you a little bit of interesting, it gives you verticality you can do. You can get up on ledges, you can jump out in the way of stuff with it. And it must be said, the world does not want you to be alive. The world does not care for you. You are nothing to it.
Yeah, I believe that they kind of... There's the ecosystem whereby things in the world can fuck you up. They don't sort of set things aside in certain areas. It was just like, if you walk down there and something looks tough or you die, get used to it.
Yeah. I would say, particularly at the outset, like, everything is a challenge. You are nobody, you are nothing, you have nothing. There will be enemies you'll see that will one or two shot you. Basic enemies, if you're not paying attention. Like, it's difficult at first. Until you find yourself a decent travelling companion, or some gear, like some good armour, or a good shield, or a good hit and stick, or some grenades. Like, until you find that kind of, assistance, your best option in the first couple of hours is to run like fuck. Just
As you
run.
would. As you would.
You would. You'd be like,
Yeah.
I'm not dealing with this velociraptor with human arms. They've got velociraptors with big, muscly human arms.
Do you know
They're
they're still putting
terrifying.
out videos on LX like Piranha Bytes are, and still sticking up like photographs that people have taken in the games.
Oh, see, that's really cool. I've since gone and looked at other stuff they've done. I downloaded Risen 3, I think was the game they made before this. And you can see how they've advanced as developer, because like some of the world design stuff in that, it's good, but it's not particularly easy to navigate. Like, it's not easy to get into. The game's a lot more what's the word I want to use it? It's a bit more, not mysterious, but a bit more at arm's reach.
Yeah.
Like, there's lots, you can see there's a lot of wheels, and you can tell already, like, in Risen 3, that you can do this sort of stuff here. You can play people off each other, and there's factions and things, but I think in Elix they've nailed down like that introduction to the world a lot better, and it plays a bit nicer, and it loads really, much better than Risen 3 did anyway. And it's kind of like I think it's as games progress and you get used to ways of things are working, older games become harder to play. Like, if you play a first-person shooter from the PS1, to look up and down you have to use R1 and R2. That's evil these days. You can't do that anymore. Shit don't work no more. And I think maybe some of the lessons they've learned, like the quality of life stuff, is just good. Like, and I'm not saying that Elix is perfect. It's very far from perfect. It's not a 10 out of 10 game by anyone's stretch. There are problems. There's severe balance issues in places. Some of the combat is just... some of the weapons just aren't good. Like, no matter how strong they are, they're just not good. You can, if you are an idiot, you can level up your sword past the point where you can use it. Because the stats improve. So you're thinking, I'm going to make this better. Click, done. Wait, what? Because the stats have gone up because it's a stronger weapon. You can't just use, the Hammer of Dawn from the start of the game. You have to level up your stats to a point where you can use that shit. And I did this once with I think it was a piece of armour, I think. This is my favourite armour, I'm going to level this up, and what do you mean I can't wear it? Piss off! So you are really given free rein to fuck yourself up which is great. I think the actual way the world is set up with these three main clans, you've got the berserkers initially you meet here, the kind of forest boys. There's like a Mad Max looking town full of thieves and robbers and, cool guys wearing duster coats and cowboy hats. And you've got the clerics, who are the techno priests, who have got these big, big futuristic looking city with electro guns and mechs that ride around with them, and they're all playing off each other, and they're all, you find people that want to defect from one to the other, and there's kind of quests where you'll start a quest for one branch and then realise that that's at odds with a quest you've got from another branch, and you can then choose, well, which one do I want to go for? But it's not laid out explicitly like, do you want to betray? Do you want to help? Like, you're just given a choice of options and you're just told to make a choice based on what you think. Making decisions one way or another can turn entire clans against you. Like, you can fuck up everything. You can turn up at a clan like, hey, wait, you're the guy that did that. Shoot him. Like, oh, guys, it was a mistake. I didn't mean it. Please. Like, there are interesting quirks in every single quest that make them stand out. It's not just like, hey, here's 17 fetch quests. Like, everything's got personality. Everything's got character. There's something happening in each one that makes you think, oh, I want to try this one next. Oh, I'm going to try this one next. I'll give you an example. In the cleric place, you are someone you meet there asks you to steal something from the archives that they need to sort themselves out. They've got a problem and they need you to get this book out of the archives to answer some questions they need to know. However, the archive is always guarded by a man who has no sense of humour. Your first question is how you get in. You can join the faction. If you join the clerics, you're allowed to go in the library. You're allowed in because you're one of you. You're still like a free guy at this point. You can join the faction, but that will permanently lock you out of joining the other two. Once you've made a decision, it's there. You are in that faction for the rest of the game. You can't change it. So that's a big decision to make. Could you maybe, if you've impressed on this one, trick the guard with mind powers? Do you try another tactic to distract him? Do you just try and kill him and hope that people in the world don't join in and notice? Because if you get in trouble in town, you're done. You are very done. Once you've got past him, how do you go about securing the item? Do you sneak through? Do you hack your way through? Do you kill all the men and just take it? When you've got the item, who do you give it to? Do you give it to the person who asked you to get it? Do you sell it off yourself? Do you grass them up to the people that are in charge of the town? This is one side quest. One side quest. And every single mission has this level of, like, ideas. Like, yeah, why not? Can you steal this? Can you rob this? Can you sell this off to someone else? Can you play this man against this man? Can you try it this way? Do you trust this man? Do you not trust this man? It's big, and it is bold, and it has a lot of ideas, and not all of them stick. And some of the game is really, really hard. Some of the enemies are evil. The game actively hates you for quite a bit of it. Like, it does not want you to succeed. But
well, I remember the thing that turned my head towards it initially was people saying it was both the best and the worst game of that year, and the people that were saying that were the same people.
Yeah, I like it. Like, here's the thing. So I was in two minds about it. Like, for a lot of times, I like it and I hate it. Like, it doesn't like me. But when you... Yeah, exactly. But once you work the way out, the way it wants you to approach things, once you've got, like, hang on, what if I try this instead? And you start breaking things apart, and you start to not break the game, but you start to find your win button. You start to find your strategy, your technique that works. Once you've found that, you're like, now we've got a game. And the way the plot unravels, and the way that different kind of enemies and factions play off against each other, and the way you then bring it all together at the end, and you kind of bring these sort of disparate people together to kind of do this sort of joint offensive at the end. It's really good. I cannot think of a world that I've enjoyed exploring and uncovering and just probing at more than this one. For a long time. Like, and this is, more than your Red Deads, more than your Assassin's Creeds, more than your big AAA open world games. This has got so much going on. It doesn't have that, go find all the hidden caches. Here's a map of where they are. Look at all these icons of treasure chests on your map. Go and do that. That's not fun. Like, it doesn't do any of that shit. There's stuff you can find in places, but you just go and find it if you think it's there. Like, chase it down. It's not like a checklist of, like, busy work to do. Every side mission in this game is a mission. There's something to do. It's interesting. there's not a lot of fat on it. Like it's all for the greater good. Like it all points towards the same direction. You're not doing something thinking, I'm just doing this to unlock something funner. Like every part of the game is part of the game, and I think that's brilliant. It's brilliant. Yeah. It's so bonkers that a game like this, and again, 2 years ago, before the Immortal Unchained year, if you just showed me this game and said this can be your favourite thing this year, I'd have told you to blow me.
Yeah, but I think this goes back further to, say, you on PS2 or PS1, where you might find one of these things and you know that it's not perfect, and you know that it's a game that maybe it feels like you've discovered. And sans internet being the thing that it is now, maybe it just becomes more and more personal to you because you've got this little game and it's quirky and it's weird, but you can beat it, and you know its tricks and its turns, and you love its story for everything that it is, rather than everything that it's not. And I think that's the important thing when you fall in love with something.
Yeah, maybe I lost that a bit in the PS3 era. I was Billy AAA chaser for quite a while back there, and I like that. Again, part of what we tried to do, maybe sometimes successfully, sometimes not this year, was chasing the weird was our kind of watchword for some of the year, wasn't it?
Yeah. And
this slotted in quite nicely, and I'm glad we did, because I don't know if I would have maybe given this the shake that I did had we not set out to kind of look for things a bit more unusual, a bit more off the beaten track this year. I don't know if I'd have picked it out myself without some heavy recommendation, at very least. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not one I would have picked out, and glad I did, man, because it's really good. I loved it to pieces. It's busted and broken, but my God, what a game. Cool. My God.
Who'd have thought?
Who'd have thought? In a year where the Resident Evil 2 remake and a new From Software game come out, that I've sacked them all off. They haven't made an appearance. Not because I haven't, because I haven't played them, but because, that's not what I'm looking for anymore. And I hope it continues to 2020.
Yes, onwards and upwards with the weirdness.
CJ, I will now pass the ball of winning to you.
What else could there be? What else could there be? Sometimes something looks like your sort of thing and you go, ooh, and then you forget all about it. And then the next time you see it, you have the opposite reaction. It might not be a great showing, or something just no longer clicks. But still your noggin hasn't quite written it off. Although kind of your instinct is, maybe it's not for me. Let's wait until it hits 20 quid. Is becoming more and more prevalent these days, especially with so many bugs, crashes and patches. I mentioned with the Surge 2 and stuff. But this was one where I really held out. I was convinced it wasn't going to be my thing. I bought it second hand, and it sat in front of my telly for weeks. And then I installed it. And then I ignored it for a bit longer. It might have been that run up to Xmas at work and I wasn't in the mood for anything chatty, preferring my Destas 2 and my K-pop. But then a night where my neighbours were having a party, loads of people up there, stuff crashing on my ceiling, lots of bouncing about, people laughing, and so I figured I'd load it up. To combat the neighbours, I put headphones on, which I never do. And in this little bubble, I absolutely lost myself. Weird surroundings, quirky stuff, amazing atmosphere that put me in mind of the way that BioShock felt. The way that I got, the feel that I got from the Surge. And as the game unfolded, I was in. The atmosphere bled into challenge, and the game kept pushing me onward. There was the familiar, certainly, a bit of PS2 in the way that it feels, but in counterpoint, this feels truly next gen. I.e. stuff that I thought I was going to see this gen, and wanted to see this gen, and hope is prevalent in PS5 or Series X. It's sensory. It's doing stuff I've not seen games do. I have been, and still am, very, very affected by this game. I'm still piecing it together, and will absolutely be playing it again afterwards. Knowing the story is one thing, but putting together a grand design is a fun thing to experience. Plus, the game does something I love that too few games do. Encouraging you to go way, way off the beaten track, and rewarding you with stuff. I remember, probably my favourite example of this is the first Resistance on PS3.
Oh.
Where you could fuck off way, way, way away from where you were going. It's like, oh, there's a new weapon. Oh, there's this. I like it when they hide stuff in levels. So, yeah, it encourages you to kind of go off the beaten path just out of pure curiosity. And sometimes harder stuff cracks in out of nowhere because of that. There's no marker leading you on. There's no map, particularly. You're not constantly being told what to do. You kind of have to figure a lot of it out. The puzzles are great. A little bit Tomb Raider-ish in the puzzles, maybe. Strong design is a wonderful thing and lasts beyond generations. Demon's Souls will forever stand up because of this, and I'm a sucker for a tangible environment with the weird spoon-fed to me in tasty dollops. And this game does it with a level of class very, very few games get near. Hence my game of the year for 2019 is Control.
Oh!
Control is astonishing. Absolutely fucking astonishing. The environment feels real. Like the way that the plasterboarding is on the walls and the way that light shines on it and how retro things feel purposely and with reason. I like when an enemy appears and I can literally rip up anything in that level and throw it at them. You can, and if you're near a wall and you can't, say, pick up a photocopier or a desk or anything like that, you will literally draw a chunk of concrete out of the wall, and that chunk of concrete will stay out of the wall, and you can throw it at somebody.
Ooh.
The weapon that you have transforms, and there are different things that you can do. Even tonight, I got a new ability. I went into kind of like this little training bit, and I was like, hold on, this is an enemy that's actually impervious to me. How am I going to? Oh, really? You're doing that? Oh my god. And the gameplay keeps evolving. It's like the fights feel like an Uncharted, where it's, rather than it pushing you behind corners or getting you to have to be defensive for a while, it's constantly pushing you onward. And you know, the enemies, when you kill them, they drop sort of energy that you can pick up anyway, so really it is charging you forward to keep getting that stuff. There's lots of little extras that you can pick up. The Oldest House itself is fantastic. The mysteries around it are superb. Even the extra stuff that you find, you know, that your little faxes and memos and stuff, are fucking brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. I chucked a couple up sort of here just to read them out to you. Attention maintenance staff. An object of power escaped the Panopticon a couple of weeks ago, and they want everyone to keep an eye out for it. So if anyone sees a merry-go-round horse zipping around the sector, alert me immediately. Do not try to contain it on your own, and definitely don't bind it to yourself. Now, objects of power are kind of anomalous things that seemingly whatever is on the other side can bind themselves to in this world. And it's weird. Like it says here, reminder, certain objects are not allowed inside the Bureau. Recent incidents have necessitated an issued reminder on prohibited materials. Unauthorized weapons, pages, laptops, smartwatches, smartphones, smart gaming devices, anything smart, number 2 pencils, any objects considered iconic representations of an archetypal concept, e.g. rubber ducks, ketchup bottles. All material under Bureau investigation is to be brought in through the private entrances. If you see lobby personnel in breach of these policies, please notify your supervisor immediately. There was one piece which I tried to find tonight, but I couldn't. I didn't know where it was. Was one bit where somebody was investigating this motel that it's believed that some weird happenings were going on. And the person there was saying, like, couldn't notice anything weird at all. In fact, I lay down and I had the best night's sleep that I've ever had, I think. But when I woke up in the morning, I was under the bed.
Huh.
I was like, okay. Also this is another one of the ones that I found. I had a dream and I built the thing I saw in my dream. A machine that will contain God, but not the God you know or the one anyone knows. A new God. This machine will be his body, his heart, and his mind. I made it just like the dream showed me. I used the motor from the refrigerator, and the coils from my toaster, and the fans plus the timing belt from my car's engine, and the wheels from my son's skateboard. God can't move yet, but the dream said he would learn how to on his own. This is just a beginner's body, like a baby, but a machine instead. God only needs a place to start. If you want to interview me, please contact me at the address on the envelope. My phone does not work anymore. I had to use the dialing plate on God. Little things like this were just sort of adding up where I was like, this is really cool. There's a worry that children might get into the Bureau, so there's a puppet show that comes on every now and again, which is disturbing as fuck. And in the kind of the memos that you get, a few people are just going like, yeah, I used to make these things when I was a kid, it'd be fine, and they are genuinely disturbing. Where it's just like, hey, it's a great time in the Bureau, everyone's really nice, but don't go into that room. And yeah, it's really weird. But I'm so taken with everything that's there, and even the subtle storytelling when maybe you'll get into an area and there'll be somebody that you can talk to and who will be, say, surrounded by other officers, if you will, but there'll be certain ones of them that are tied up and are kneeling on the floor. And it's like, shit, have they gone mad? And it doesn't make a deal out of it. You just go, oh. And there are so many anomalies that happen within the game that you constantly feel off guard. And, you know, they'll introduce different enemies to you as you go along, and you get different powers for the gun, which are very off-kilter. And I don't want to spoil too much of the story because the story is still unfolding for me, but part of it is that level of bewilderment and surprise because the game will fuck with you. But it feels like a novel. It feels like a tangible place. The game is so much fun to play, and rather than like when you see a load of enemies sort of kick in, rather than going like, oh fuck, and looking for somewhere to hide, you were like, right then, come on.
Sounds a bit like it's a bit of a weird pull here, but it sounds a little bit like Doom.
No,
very Doom. No, in the way that Doom was very much broke from the tradition of hide behind that. Don't you know? You're not encouraged to kind of like hide and snipe and stuff. It's like, no, go get involved, go smash things up.
I think there's a balance between knowing your limits and going for stuff. But I don't know. I find the combat so joyous.
It sounds like it asks you to sort of cut loose and have fun, and not to be a coward and hide behind the wall in the first room and hope that you can pick things off without them getting near you. It's just like no, go chuck a wall at them.
You have to be kind of active with stuff, but there's also a part of you that has to be tactical as well. Know where the enemies are coming from, who's nearest to you, who's the more powerful. But you're doing that, you're picking them off in the moment, and there might be certain enemies that start flying around, and if you've got like a massive bit of wall, they might see that coming and dodge out of the way.
Ooh.
But if you shoot them with a weapon, say the what might seem like the least powerful weapon, which you can fire faster, it will do damage to them.
Interesting.
Yeah. And like when you get enemies that say fire rockets across the level, they fizz like fireworks as they move across the level. It's fabulous. You know, you see them lighting up. The lighting engine is insane anyway, but you see them, you hear them whooshing, but you kind of see them lighting up as they're coming towards you and stuff. It's a really amazing feeling. You actually feel like they've been fired. And all of it is just weird and addictive. And it also knows when to balance out the firefights with moments of quiet and instances where you just go, what is going on? It's great. There's, you know, the voice recordings are really good. The videos are really good. There's a small team that have made this, and whilst it isn't it's not got your AAA budgets of your God of War and stuff, they've done something really special, and it feels. I like a place where, like we were talking about with The Surge, where you walk in and you just go, huh. And like I say, the fact that I noticed the way that plastered walls were painted and the way that light was reflecting off them as light would normally do. And I'm not a graphics tart particularly at all, but this generation has all been about photorealism rather than the sensory, and the fact that these rooms feel tangible and it feels like a place makes me kind of stare at them all the more. And this retro feel that, nothing really modern can be in there, and I still don't know quite what the enemy is, and the directors above me are really weird and talk to you in shadows and like it's what? It's creepy. It's fun. I've just enjoyed the shit out of it. The puzzles, like I say, the puzzles are great. It's really good. Allegedly doesn't run particularly well on the standard machines, and it's taken a while to get patched for the Pro and the One X. I think it'll truly shine when it gets patched for next gen. But I'm kind of smitten with it.
That's really good for me to hear, because I've kind of had my eye on it a bit, but traditionally I've never got on well with Remedy's games. Like, I bounced off Max Payne, I bounced off Alan Wake. I really tried with Alan Wake and I just couldn't get into it.
Uh-huh.
Obviously didn't play Quantum Break because I didn't have an Xbox One. But like, I've had my eye on Control, but I think the fact that it was Remedy, who by all accounts seem to be a very good developer, that I just don't ever gel with. The fact that you have now said all these things about it is like, well, okay, you I trust. Don't trust Egan, but I do trust my friend.
You see, I did enjoy the first Max Payne. I played that on Xbox One.
It looked like the sort of game that I would like. Gruff, gritty, noir cop doing cool,
but there was
bullet
also
time
that
slow-mo jump stuff, and that looks like it's like my shit, but I just couldn't get on with it.
There was also that kind of weird Grant Morrison-ish story behind it, which I really enjoyed. I didn't get on with Alan Wake. I played a bit of it and it just didn't click with me. The stuff I've really not got my teeth into Quantum Break to judge it particularly, but I didn't find the stuff that I played particularly compulsive. there's something here, and I think it's a bit special. But imagine, to try and pass it, imagine you Max Payne type stuff, but faster, more Uncharted, I guess, speaking to you.
Yeah.
But a place that feels real, a weirdness that's very 2000 AD stroke novel-like, very Alan Moore, like 2000 AD. Like, is a weird place with fucked up shit. And I don't know what's happening, but the building seems to be transforming. There are people in regular clothing up muttering near the ceiling. There are strange anomalies from other worlds, and what? There was a bit in a level that I've just been in where I walked into a room and there were lots of people standing still staring at a light box, and this light box had apparently become an object of power. And as I got close to it, it was a light box from a hospital, displaying skull fractures and things like that on it. But something had happened, something had invaded this thing that basically stopped people in their tracks, and they were just staring at it. And when I binding myself to it, I went back into the other room, and everybody had gone. And I'm like, yeah, fine with this. This is great. It's weird, and it's quiet, and it's addictive, and like I say, it just feels like a place. And if you charm me with an area, with a place like a Rapture, or like the Creo facility and stuff, you've kind of got me. Whatever you put on top of that, you've got me. But when they're introducing like all these little weird stories, and I'm reading everything that I'm finding, and it's all good. And
I think that's a theme that's run through all of my games actually this year. It's the interesting worlds that are fun to pull apart.
There's even a few memos that you find where the Bureau has a book club, and you find out different people's opinion on the book that they're reading. And it's
that's
quite
fun.
Interesting, with people going like, one person really liked the protagonist and really identified with this question. You're like, yeah, I don't feel that's particularly realistic, and I don't like their motivations. To be honest, I quite like the villain. The villain seemed to have better motivations for me. And you read it, you're like, this is fab. I really dig this. And like I say, having the headphones on, and you're just hearing like these mutterings or this kind of slow, static kind of or like noises and stuff, and it leading you into different areas, and lots of marble and painted walls and plaster and wood and old like 80s type computers, like your TRS-80s and stuff with green screens, which obviously you can pick up and throw at people. You can pick up anything and throw it at people.
Yes.
But it is just great to run round a corner and go and like literally with the hand that's not holding the gun, just pull a chunk out of the wall and throw it at somebody, and then say they fire a rocket at the sort of stairs that you're hiding behind, and literally blow the stairway away from you, and you're having to step back from that, and you're like, oh, I can't really go near that anymore. And there's no there is a crouch and stuff, but there's no kind of division like that blocking that they have where you run and you just hold behind something. It's I don't know, it just feels retro yet quite futuristic, I guess. And I do love a place that feels real, especially when it's this weird and transforming.
Like it.
So yeah,
that's well done, man.
And I've proper kept that quiet.
You have. I was sitting here, that whole intro, that 5 minutes where you didn't say the name, thinking, what the fuck has he played?
What is this?
I was trying to pick things out. I was like, no, he's talked about that already. No, we've covered that. No, is it? No, oh, no, we talked about that before as well. What the fuck has he even played? It's a bit like Bioshock. What the hell has he played?
I love it. I'm really taken with it, and it fucks me up. There's a certain point where I have to kind of put it down, and not because not because I don't want to carry on, but I feel like I've had enough to sort of sit back and just go, om nom nom, I'm full. And that's quite a nice feeling with the game.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's good. I really like it.
Excellent stuff, man.
Radical.
It's on my list now.
Cool. I think you'll dig it.
I've actually sat on my phone. I've got a little list on my phone of things I want to get and play, and I've actually added that onto the list.
Knowing that you've gone through the Uncharted stuff recently, I think you'll enjoy the gunplay quite a lot. So, and don't know, knowing that you get off on the little things in a game in the same way as I do, and we both identified with the the Surge stuff with the Creo plant and stuff, how tangible it felt. But yeah, it's proper there in the surroundings.
Yeah, and it sounds like, again, not to bang on about end law 2020. It sounds like it's just stuff in the world. It's not all in service of a plot you've got to sit there with a spreadsheet to work out. It sounds like it's just story, and there's things happening, and it's a weird place, but the actual main plot is unrolling itself. But like the stuff on the outside isn't going to be like, oh well, remember who owned the magical sword of Daedalus.
Yeah, none of that, and it even takes the piss out of itself in some ways. Like there's a thing to keep whatever's out there away from people, which looks like a kind of speaker from a stereo that's attached to you with belts. That goes kind of round your waist and over your shoulders and stuff, and they even make that gag about it. And they were saying like it's not a device for listening into your conversations because we do that anyway. It's like that's really good.
That's funny.
Yeah, and I think you'll like the head scientist. He's very cool. He's very geeky, and yeah. It's great. I have to hold back from saying too much because it's fun to see the secrets and the revelations as they kick in, because it is genuinely one of those where you can be at home with what you're doing and just go, huh. So it's good.
I like it. So that, I believe, wraps up our 2019 Game of the Years, which was taken us a while to get to, but I think as we've chatted to privately, I think it's important to let things settle a little bit. I think it's important to do. I mean, if a week ago, if we were recorded these this time last week, I'd have probably had a different top 5.
Yeah, I was wrestling with
wrestled with mine a lot.
With a few, yeah. And to the listener base, thank you for listening. If you've made it all the way to the end, thank you very much. I'm sorry we haven't been there as much as we'd like. Hopefully we can rectify that a little bit more. But as a closing note, I just want you to know that you're not alone. I just want you to know that we're here for you, and if you need us, you never know who's out there, who's watching out for you. It could be somebody in the corner of the tower that you didn't expect. It could be somebody in your game and you think, I'm going to die now, and you're rescued because somebody else is there for you. It could be in everyday life, and maybe you've not got enough money for that loaf of bread, and somebody standing behind you in Sainsbury's is there and they'll be like, I'll buy that for you. And you'll be like, how do I ever thank you? What's your name? And they turn to you and say, farts. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye, everybody, again.